Chapter 271. Furthermore, it was different from the flames that Yang Dingtian saw previously. This flame didn't have any aura of life and didn't have any vitality. Previously, even the mirage void flame that Yan Bieching devoured was filled with vitality. However, the flame in front of him didn't seem to have any signs of life. Furthermore, it didn't seem to have any temperature. It was even worse than the top-grade earth fire that Yang Dingtian used to forge the youngling sword. If it didn't have any vitality, it wouldn't be a mystic flame. If it wasn't a mystic flame, then what exactly was this flame? No matter what this flame was, Yang Dingtian wouldn't give up on this final hope. Even though this flame didn't have any vitality, he would know if it was a mystic flame by injecting his consciousness and mystic qi into the flame. If it was a mystic flame, it would immediately respond. Immediately, Yang Dingtian held his breath and mixed his consciousness into the mystic qi. He then slowly approached this mystic flame. Previously, Yang Dingtian saw the mirage void flame. As long as his mystic qi got close, the flame would rush over impatiently. However, this flame didn't have any reaction for the time being. Yang Dingtian's mystic qi and consciousness were still gradually getting closer. 1 foot. 8 inches. 5 inches. 3 inches. 1 inch. Yang Dingtian was almost suffocating. He really hoped that the flame in front of him was a mystic flame, even though he knew that the possibility was extremely small. However, this was really his final hope. I shall leave everything to the heavens. No matter if it is a mystic flame or not, I will accept it. Yang Dingtian thought in his heart. He then injected his mystic qi into the flame. There was no reaction. 1 second passed. 2 seconds passed. 3 seconds passed. A full half a minute passed. This flame didn't have any reaction. Yang Dingtian's consciousness and mystic qi seemed to have entered an ordinary flame, like entering a piece of wood. Yang Dingtian's body was getting colder, and so was his heart. As expected, a miracle didn't happen. Finally, all the coldness and disappointment turned into a sigh. Why was it like this? Why was it like this? Yang Dingtian almost never cried, nor did he want to cry. He would never cry because of a setback. But now, he really wanted to cry, not because of emotions, but because of a setback. Although he had gone through untold hardships in the past, he had finally succeeded in achieving his goal. In fact, he had even reaped greater rewards than his goal. Now, the mystic flame was the most important thing to him, but he was about to fail. Could it be that his luck had run out? This blow was unprecedented for Yang Dingtian. Of course, Yang Dingtian wouldn't cry, but he wanted to. Woo-woo! Suddenly, Yang Dingtian heard a sorrowful sobbing sound. I didn't cry. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Could it be that he was hallucinating because he wanted to cry? But then, the sobbing became louder and louder, stranger and more terrifying. Then, the flame began to wander around. The space here wasn't big to begin with, but the flame wandered very carefully. Almost every few inches it moved, it would stop, as if it wanted to feel its surroundings, sniff carefully, and then move a few more inches. It moved and cried at the same time. The sobbing became louder and sharper. Then, it was as if thousands of people were crying desperately beside his ears. This kind of feeling was completely chilling. Finally, the sobbing became even stranger. Not only did it want to disturb one's mind, it even wanted to seize one's soul. It seemed to drill into the depths of one's spirit and wanted to scatter one's soul. At this moment, the flame floated to Dongfang Bingling's side. As it sobbed, it approached Dongfang Bingling, as if it wanted to sniff her scent. When it approached Dongfang Bingling, the flame suddenly jumped and danced. Yang Dingtian was shocked. Could it be that the flame had also taken a fancy to Dongfang Bingling? But she already had a mystic flame. Moreover, Yang Dingtian faintly felt that it was strange that the flame seemed to be actively looking for something. Its attitude was very serious, but also very proud. Could it really be a mystic flame? Just as this thought welled up, the flame suddenly flew to Yang Dingtian, just a few inches in front of his eyes. Then, the tip of the flame suddenly poked its head out and drilled into Yang Dingtian's eyes. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was shocked and almost instinctively retreated. Because, at this moment, the flame was infinitely close. Yang Dingtian could clearly see that there were actually countless human figures inside the flame. All the human figures were painfully struggling and wailing, as if they were being tortured in purgatory. This horrifying sobbing sound was coming from these countless human figures. Moreover, Yang Dingtian shockingly discovered that although the size of the flame did not change, there were more and more human faces on it. They became denser and denser. Finally, it was completely densely packed. In the 9-inch long flame, there were countless distorted faces squeezed together. Moreover, there were more and more, thousands and thousands, countless. In the end, these faces could not be squeezed together. Every face began to change constantly. In the beginning, there were dozens of people, and hundreds of people sharing the same face. It was just that every face was rapidly changing their appearance. Finally, the countless faces formed a huge face. The 9-inch flame formed a face, a ferocious and painful face. Moreover, this face was constantly changing. For a moment, it was a human, for a moment, it was the Foxman race, and for a moment, it was the Wolfman race. At this moment, Yang Ditian clearly felt that perhaps this flame was the real million-spirit demon flame? This mystic flame was different from Dongfang Bingling's flame. This was the real Emperor's flame. However, there was no reason for it. Previously, the flame that Yan Bieqing devoured could be called the Mirage Void Flame. However, the one that Dongfang Bingling devoured was definitely the real demon flame. There was no reason for two fake flames to appear. However, what exactly was this strange flame in front of him? It was so similar to the million-spirit demon flame. Even if it was the million-spirit demon flame, or the mystic flame, Yang Dingtian was completely helpless against it. This was because when he poured in his mystic qi and divine senses, it was like mud sinking into the sea. There was no reaction at all. Moreover, the sobbing sound by Yang Dingtian's ears was getting louder and more terrifying. Previously, it had only drilled into his ears. Now, it had completely penetrated into his soul. It was an incomparably powerful spiritual explosion. Yang Dingtian was really about to collapse. Countless sinister faces drilled into his mind from his eyes. Countless sobbing sounds drilled into his divine senses from his ears. Yang Dingtian felt that his brain was about to explode. All the blood vessels in his body were about to explode. At this moment, this flame that had transformed into a sinister face was getting closer and closer to Yang Dingtian. Finally, there was a boom. The flame abruptly exploded, shattering into countless faces. In an instant, this narrow space was filled with flaming faces. Not only that, the number of flaming faces that exploded increased. Finally, these countless flaming faces poured into the 1,000-meter pool above. In an instant, the water that was 1,000 meters deep was reduced to ashes inch by inch, disappearing without a trace. The entire space was filled with countless flaming faces. Finally, the entire bottom of the central lake was densely packed with flaming faces. Every face was sinister, every face was contorted in pain, and every face was wailing. No one had ever seen such a terrifying scene. If they did, they would never be able to forget this terrifying and shocking scene for the rest of their lives. Every face was less than 2 inches long, but they covered hundreds of miles of the lake. Moreover, they were stacked in layers and seemed endless. Who would believe that so many flaming faces were actually split apart by a 9-inch flame? Million-spirit demonic fire. As the name implied, this was the million-spirit demonic fire. The eastern fence grassland was the source of energy. Tens of millions of vengeful souls that had died in the burial ground were the souls. After thousands of years of nurturing, the incomparably powerful million-spirit demonic fire was finally born. However, Yang Dingtian could no longer see this scene. His entire body was surrounded by flames. His mind was completely filled with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even more terrifying cries. He could no longer store anything. The million-spirit demonic fire had expanded to its limit. It covered the entire central lake and finally stopped. Then, the first resentful spirit demonic fire turned into a stream of light and fiercely drilled into Yang Dingtian's body. Then the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, countless resentful spirit demonic fire crazily poured into Yang Dingtian's body. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's body seemed to be on fire. It was completely red and transparent. The clothes on his body instantly turned to ashes. At this moment, he and Dongfang Bingling were completely right. However, the two of them were unconscious. It was as if countless shooting stars and countless stars were crazily gathering in Yang Dingtian's body. In just a few minutes, tens of millions of resentful spirit demonic fire crazily poured into Yang Dingtian's body. Now, there was a question. If the flame that was pouring into Yang Dingtian's body was the million spirit demonic fire, then what was the flame that Dongfang Bingling had devoured? Almost no one could answer this question because no one had truly devoured the million spirit demonic fire before. Without a doubt, the flame that was pouring into Yang Dingtian's body was the real million spirit demonic fire. It was a pure fire attribute demonic fire. As for the flame that Dongfang Bingling had devoured, it was also a mystic flame. However, it was not the energy that was condensed from the fire attribute continent of the eastern fence grassland. It was a mystic flame that was condensed from the yin qi of hundreds of millions of vengeful spirits that had died in the burial ground. This flame had nothing to do with the fire attribute. It was completely of the ice attribute. It was an extremely rare ice attribute mystic flame. If people knew that Dongfang Bingling had obtained an ice attribute mystic flame, the whole world would go crazy. Therefore, there was not only one mystic flame in the center of the Dongli grassland, but two. One was yin and one was yang. Therefore, the yin-yang mountain that grew out of the lake was half flame and half ice. Dongfang Bingling had obtained the yin flame. Yang Dingtian had obtained the supreme mystic flame that was condensed from the resentful spirit demonic fire. Chapter 272. The ice attribute yin flame formed from the yin energy of billions of vengeful spirits was the first to bloom. That was why the 1,000-meter deep unfreezing water had appeared and the entire lake had been frozen. The recovery of Dongfang Bingling's profound energy was also due to the blooming of this yin flame. The energy released in that instant was incomparable. After the yin flame bloomed, the ice started to melt and the unfreezing water lost its terrifying coldness. Just when everyone thought that the million spirit demon flame was finished, the real million spirit demon flame bloomed. Dongfang Bingling's million spirit yin flame was formed from the yin energy of billions of vengeful spirits. As for the million spirit demon flame, it was formed from the fire attribute energy of the vast Dongli grassland and the consciousness of billions of vengeful spirits. Just how powerful was it? It was easy to imagine. Furthermore, the real million spirit demon flame was different from other profound flames. It was extremely proud, terrifying, and strange. The other mystic flames required martial artists to input their mystic chi and divine sense to attract them. However, the million spirit demon flame found its own master. The real million spirit demon flame was proud, aloof, and cold. It would not be devoured by others. Instead, it would choose martial artists to enter. It first sensed Dongfang Bingling and then left quickly. In the end, it chose Yang Dingtian. The reason was simple. Yang Dingtian had the 9 yang profound veins. It felt that only such profound veins were qualified for it to enter. It could be said that even if Yang Dingtian was unconscious and there were other people present, it would be useless for the million spirit demon flame to devour it. The demon flame would still choose Yang Dingtian and enter Yang Dingtian's body. Therefore, the million spirit demon flame's entry into Yang Dingtian's chi vessel was destined and could not be changed. During the entire process, Yang Dingtian was unconscious. When the million spirit demon flame split into countless vengeful spirits and entered his body, he was unconscious. When the million spirit demon flame was being refined by the profound veins in his body and entered his chi vessel bit by bit, Yang Dingtian was still unconscious. Even when he was breaking through, Yang Dingtian was still unconscious. If he had a pair of eyes, he would be able to see it clearly. Yang Dingtian's body was like a burning flame. Countless strands of red light flowed from all parts of his body into his sea of qi. His entire body was already astonishingly bright, and his sea of qi was even more dazzling. It was like the sun in the sky, making people unable to look at it directly. When Yang Dingtian's sea of qi was so bright that it seemed like it was going to burn his entire body into ashes in an instant. Boom! The light in his sea of qi suddenly exploded. In an instant, like the light of a missile explosion, the entire space was completely plunged into a dazzling white light. The entire space was so bright that nothing could be seen. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's sea of qi had broken through. Of course, he was still unconscious, and Dongfang Bingling was also in deep silence. No one saw this spectacle. Just like that, countless streams of light entered Yang Dingtian's qi sea from all over his body. His sea of qi became brighter and brighter, and finally, it was extremely bright. With a boom and a flash of white light, everything fell into nothingness. Yang Dingtian broke through again. Just like that, every once in a while, Yang Dingtian's body would suddenly explode with a ray of light. At first, it would explode once an hour. Then, it would explode once every 2 hours. Then, it would explode once every half a day. Then, it would explode once a day. Then, it would explode once every 2 days. Then, it would explode once every 4 days. Then, it would explode once every 8 days. Then, it would explode once every 2 weeks. Then, it would explode once every month. In a coma, Yang Dingtian needed more and more time to break through each time. With the continuous breakthrough of his sea of qi, the fire on Yang Dingtian's body became fainter and fainter. Because the mystic fire in his mystic meridians would gradually dissipate after entering his sea of qi. When the mystic fire did not have a host, its life was very short, only a few minutes. Even if it entered the human body, it could only circulate in the mystic meridians. And in the human body's mystic meridians, it could only survive for a period of time. The higher the mystic meridian's talent, the longer the mystic fire could survive. The higher the mystic meridian's talent, the shorter the mystic fire could survive. For an 8th grade mystic meridian's martial artist, the mystic fire could survive in his mystic meridians for a little more than a month. And once the mystic fire entered the sea of qi, it could continue to survive and share a life with the martial artist. So, the higher the mystic meridian's talent, the more mystic fire energy would enter the sea of qi in a unit of time. And the longer the mystic meridian's life, the longer it would take to refine the sea of qi. A very talented person could only refine 1,000th of the mystic fire energy. And Yang Dingtian had the 9 young mystic meridians. Just like that, Yang Dingtian completely fainted and lost consciousness. Countless mystic fire energy crazily surged in his mystic meridians, refining itself and entering his sea of qi. Then, he broke through again and again. Time passed day by day, and he did not know how long had passed. Finally, one day, Yang Dingtian woke up. First, he was at a loss, and he could not remember anything. He only remembered that he was surrounded by countless ferocious flaming faces, and his ears were filled with horrifying wails and cries. Next, this flame suddenly split into countless flaming faces, and then countless flaming faces turned into flowing lights and entered his body. It was very blurry, as if it happened in a dream. As for the refining of the mystic fire and the breakthrough of the sea of qi, Yang Dingtian only had a very vague impression. So, the moment he woke up, everything that had happened before seemed to have happened yesterday, or even a few minutes ago. Because everything happened very quickly, as if he had fainted, and then woke up very quickly. Of course, he instinctively knew that a lot of time should have passed. "Master, how long has it been since I fainted?" Yang Dingtian asked. Master Dongfang Minmi did not answer immediately, but was silent for a moment, and then said, "Half a year. You have been unconscious for half a year." "What?" Yang Dingtian suddenly cried out in shock. The things that happened before he fainted seemed to have happened a few minutes ago. How could half a year have passed? This was too shocking. This was the true meaning of time passing by like water, the years passing by like a shuttle. Moreover, half a year had passed, which meant that the martial arts competition for the position of the city lord was coming soon. "There is another even more shocking thing to tell you," Dongfang Minmi said. "What is it?" Yang Dingtian asked. "In this half a year, your body has undergone the refining of the mystic fire, and your cultivation has had an unbelievable breakthrough. You can't even guess how many levels you have broken through," Dongfang Minmi said. Chapter 273. How many levels have I broken through? Yang Dingtian asked with a trembling voice. "You have broken through 16 levels," Dongfang Minmi said. "You are now a 6-star martial ancestor realm expert. You are only 4 levels away from becoming a revered martial artist." "What?" Yang Dingtian exclaimed once again. 16 levels? He had been unconscious for half a year and had actually broken through to 16 levels. He could even level up while sleeping? When did such a good thing happen to him? "There is something else that is even more shocking," Dongfang Minmi said. "Within your chi vessel, there is an additional heart flame. It is a mystic flame, the true million spirit demon flame. You possess the mystic flame and have become the strongest expert in this world. From now on, you can cultivate 24 hours a day. You can forge spirit swords and refine martial spirits. You can do almost anything you want because you possess the mystic flame. Next, even if you don't have any fortuitous encounters, you will be able to break through to the Master Realm in 5 years. In 10 years, you will be able to reach the cultivation level of Master. At that time, you will be 20 years younger than Master. I have the mystic flame?" Yang Dingtian's body suddenly shook. Even though he was mentally prepared, after confirming this matter, he was still filled with unbelievable ecstasy. The mystic flame was the symbol of an absolute expert in this world. In the entire world, there were no more than 5 or 6 people who possessed the mystic flame. Those who possessed the mystic flame would eventually break through to the Grand Master Realm. And now, Yang Dingtian possessed the mystic flame. The heavens still favored Yang Dingtian. For this mystic flame, Yang Dingtian had sacrificed the most. He had gone through countless difficulties and countless setbacks. The first fake flame had been devoured by Yan Biaqing. The second ice mystic flame had been devoured by Dongfang Bingling. At that time, Yang Dingtian had sacrificed everything, but it was all given to others. However, he was still not defeated. He wanted to use the energy of the red crystal to break through. But very quickly, the red crystal had lost all its energy. At that time, Yang Dingtian was really in despair and on the verge of breaking down. Just when Yang Dingtian was about to fall into complete despair, the true million spirit demon flame bloomed and entered Yang Dingtian of its own volition. Then, it entered his sea of energy and transformed into heart flame. The process ahead was extremely difficult, tortuous, and frustrating. Later on, while Yang Dingtian was sleeping, the mystic flame delivered itself to him. He obtained the mystic flame with his eyes closed and broke through to level 16 with his eyes closed. Was there anything more bizarre in this world? Yang Dingtian really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The heavens still loved Yang Dingtian very much, but they also loved to play tricks on him. Yang Dingtian closed his eyes and tried to sense his qi. Sure enough, an elegant flame was quietly burning there. It didn't look any different, but it was filled with spiritual energy. It was as if there was another life in Yang Dingtian's body, and it was completely at his command. The power of the mystic flame was extremely shocking, and its effects were also extremely shocking. It could be said that as long as time allowed, it was completely indestructible. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel a little restless. He wanted to immediately try it out. Oh no! But very quickly, Yang Dingtian thought of something very important. Half a year had passed, but Dongfang Bingling asked him to wake her up in a month. One had to know that Dongfang Bingling had entered the deepest level of hibernation. A month was almost the limit. Now half a year had passed. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian quickly opened his eyes and turned around. At first glance, he saw Dongfang Bingling. She was completely naked, like a statue, sitting cross-legged on the ground. At this moment, Dongfang Bingling still seemed to be frozen. There was no heartbeat, no breathing, no pulse. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. He directly went forward and put Dongfang Bingling on the ground. Then, he directly used his finger to find the Jin Men acupoint. Dongfang Bingling said that piercing her Jin Men acupoint might wake her up. Then, he took out a golden needle from his space ring, aimed at the vital acupoint and pierced it. Suddenly, Dongfang Bingling's delicate body trembled. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt an extremely shocking energy. It came from Dongfang Bingling's body. Her mystic meridians, her qi, surged with extremely powerful energy. It was much more powerful than Dongfang Bingling's. In this half a year, Dongfang Bingling had been refining the mystic flame. It seemed that her cultivation had also made a shocking breakthrough. Yang Dingtian heaved a long sigh of relief. With such powerful mystic qi energy, it meant that she didn't die. If Dongfang Bingling died because he didn't wake her up in time, his conscience would never be at ease. Then, Yang Dingtian felt that Dongfang Bingling was gradually recovering her vitality. After piercing Dongfang Bingling's vital acupoint, Yang Dingtian helped Dongfang Bingling's delicate body sit up and waited for her to wake up. However, Dongfang Bingling didn't wake up. Yang Dingtian placed his ear on her chest. There was a heartbeat. Then, Yang Dingtian moved closer to her nose. There was breathing. Then Yang Dingtian touched her pulse. It was also beating normally. All signs of life were normal. No matter if it was her heartbeat, breathing or pulse, they all showed that Dongfang Bingling's body was unprecedentedly healthy. Half a year ago, because of Bob Bai's self-explosion, she was on the verge of death. Dozens of her mystic meridians were broken, and she could die at any time. Now, she was completely healed. There was even a trace of red on her beautiful face, which made her look even more charming. She was unprecedentedly healthy and much stronger than half a year ago. However, she just couldn't wake up. What exactly was going on? Yang Dingtian instantly panicked. Then, he pushed Dongfang Bingling to the ground again and pierced the golden needle into her Jin Men acupoint. Dongfang Bingling's delicate body trembled again, but she still didn't wake up. Then Yang Dingtian started to use all kinds of methods. He pinched her philtrum and used electric shocks. Dongfang Bingling still didn't wake up. What exactly was going on? Her body was healthy and her mystic qi was strong, but she just couldn't wake up. From the spatial ring, Yang Dingtian found a long dress and put it on Dongfang Bingling. Then, he told the whole story to his master, Dongfang Minmi. Master, what exactly is going on? Dongfang Bingling's body is very healthy and her mystic qi is stronger than before. But why is she completely unconscious? Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Minmi's breathing was filled with worry. He said, Little Tian, Dongfang Bingling has been silent for too long and her consciousness has completely stopped. In your Earth's language, she has become a vegetable. Vegetable? Yang Dingtian said in shock. That's right, a vegetable. Dongfang Minmi said. In order to heal her injuries and refine more mystic fire energy, she let herself enter a silent state. In other words, she used a spiritual technique to forcefully stop her consciousness and brain from thinking. Only the deepest part of her consciousness is left. During this period of time, she won't have any consciousness and won't dream at all. It's completely different from being unconscious. Other than her body being alive, her mind is completely dead. In this situation, cultivation can be twice the result with half the effort. However, the limit of this silent state is 1 month. Once it's exceeded, this person's spirit and consciousness will be completely silent and can't be awakened. She will become what you call a vegetable on earth. How can this be? Yang Dingtian instantly sank into endless guilt. He promised Dongfang Bingling that he would wake her up in a month. But now, half a year had passed. Even though Dongfang Bingling was his enemy, Yang Dingtian still sank into incomparable pain. The ecstasy of obtaining the mystic fire and breaking through to level 16 had disappeared without a trace. Child, this isn't your fault. It's the million spirit demon fire that made you completely lose your consciousness. Dongfang Minmi saw Yang Dingtian in so much pain and comforted him. No, this is still my responsibility. Yang Dingtian trembled and said, Master, is there any way to restore her consciousness and wake her up? No matter the method, no matter the cost. Dongfang Minmi sighed and said, I also hope there is. After all, she is my daughter. However, I really don't know of any way to awaken a person whose consciousness has stopped. Her situation is more serious than the vegetative people on Earth. Is there really no way? Yang Dingtian asked. I really don't know of any way. Dongfang Minmi said. What about the holy water? Will it work? Yang Dingtian asked. The holy water may be able to heal any injury. However, Dongfang Bingling is not injured now. Her consciousness has stopped. Dongfang Minmi said. Even though he knew that his master's words made sense, Yang Dingtian still took out a cup of holy water from his space ring and poured it into Dongfang Bingling's mouth. This cup of holy water made Dongfang Bingling's beautiful face blush. However, she still did not wake up. Her eyes were still tightly shut and there were no signs of her eyeballs moving. This meant that she was not even dreaming. Yang Dingtian did not give up. He took out some top-grade elixirs from his space ring and fed them to Dongfang Bingling. However, there was still no effect. Yang Dingtian roared and smashed his fist on the red crystal floor. Then, he lay on the ground and tried to think of various ways. However, his mind was in a mess. How could he come up with any ideas? He could only lie on the ground and look at the pool above. At this moment, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt wet at the back of his head. There was also a warm feeling. He could not help but be stunned. Could it be that the water from above was flowing down? That was impossible. During this period of time, not even a drop of water from above could enter this space. However, if it was not the water from the pool above, where did the water that wet Yang Dingtian's hair come from? Yang Dingtian reached out and touched his hair. Indeed, it was wet. He turned his head and knew where the water came from. This was because Dongfang Bingling's skirt was also wet at this moment. Because her consciousness had stopped, and because she had drunk the holy water before, she could no longer control her body. She was really like a vegetable. Chapter 274. Yang Dingtian looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Dongfang Bingling, the fairy of the ninth heaven. The proudest, most powerful, and most frosty person in the world. She was extremely reserved, extremely graceful, and extremely elegant. Now, she was like a baby, completely unable to control her own body. Yang Dingtian had no choice but to untie the dress she had just put on and wash it in the pool above. He used fire qi to dry the clean dress. Moreover, he had to help Dongfang Bingling clean, dry her body, and dress her again. There was no other way. There was only one dress in her space ring, which was put in by Sister Ningning before. After changing Dongfang Bingling's dress, Yang Dingtian told his master what had just happened to Dongfang Bingling. Master, Bingling peed on her dress. Dongfang Minmi was not surprised. He sighed and said, This is normal. It will happen often in the future. Yang Dingtian was stunned and said, Master, how should I take care of her? Send her to the yin-yang school and let her mother take care of her. You have important things to do, Dongfang Minmi said. But on the way to the yin-yang school, you don't need to give her any food. She just needs to take an elixir every half a month. However, she still needs to drink water as usual, so she will often pee in her pants in the future. It may happen several times a day. Also, bathe her often and massage her body. In short, you have to take care of her on the way to the yin-yang school. Yang Dingtian fell into silence again. After a long time, he suddenly said, Master, I want to wake her up. No, absolutely not, Dongfang Minmi said. Send her to her mother's place in the yin-yang sect. Then you go and do your own thing. You have more important things to do. You need to kill that Lord of the Abyss, you need to collect the remaining 9 million pieces of 10,000-year-old bloody black gold, you need to forge a true soul sword, you need to break through to the martial honorable rank in a short period of time. Only then will you have a chance of winning in the martial contest for the position of City Lord. Moreover, you need to pick up Yen Yen. Yang Dingtian. Master, but I really want to wake her up. No, this is an order, Dongfang Minli said. Now leave here and the Dongli grassland. You can send Dongfang Bingling to the Yinyang school or to Yang Peipei to take care of her. In short, you have to do your own things. Yang Dingtian continued to be silent. After a long time, he slowly said, Master, if Dongfang Bingling continues to be like this, then what's the point of me being strong? Stupid! Dongfang Minli shouted. Is your strength just to defeat Dongfang Bingling? Wrong, your strength is to save Cloud Sky City, to save the Yinyang school, and even to save the entire world. Then Dongfang Minli said, Child, to tell you the truth, because you are not strong enough, there are still bigger secrets that I have not told you. Your mission is still very important. You can't be divided into two parts. Child, don't disappoint me. Leave now and send Dongfang Bingling back. Then, go do your own things. Yang Dingtian still did not reply. Dongfang Minli's voice suddenly became gentler. Child, Dongfang Bingling is my daughter. In terms of love and care, I am the person who loves her the most in this world. However, you really have more important things to do. Not only are you Master's hope, you are also Shimen Wuya's hope, Shimen Yanyan's hope, and many others' hope. Go, leave this place now. Sigh. Yang Dingtian did not reply and sighed deeply. Then, he carried Dongfang Bingling, circulated his celestial qi, and dived into the pool above, leaving the red crystal space. After entering the water, Yang Dingtian's celestial qi burst forth from his body, so the water could not get close to Yang Dingtian. Their clothes were not wet at all. Yang Dingtian kept floating up. At this time, there was no boundary between the originally 1,000-meter pool and the central lake. It had completely become a part of the lake. A minute later, Yang Dingtian carried Dongfang Bingling and suddenly rushed out of the water. He finally left this place. This mirror-like central lake was a place he had stayed in for more than half a year. After rushing out of the water, Yang Dingtian flapped his empty spirit-profound wings and flew towards the sky. The entire central lake was still as clear as a mirror, and the sky was still as clean as before. The entire bone burial ground was no different from half a year ago. After looking at it with slight reluctance, Yang Dingtian carried Dongfang Bingling and flew towards the south. When he reached the border of the bone burial ground and approached the Foxman race's territory, Yang Dingtian descended from the sky. Carrying Dongfang Bingling, he ran on the ground. Because if he was still in the sky, he would be too eye-catching. His destination was still the Foxman race. Although his master ordered him not to care about Dongfang Bingling, Yang Dingtian was still very unwilling. No matter how much he hated Dongfang Bingling, she was his master's only daughter after all. Moreover, she became like this because of Yang Dingtian. The most important thing was that Yang Dingtian wanted to defeat her fair and square 4 years later. Therefore, he had to think of a way to wake Dongfang Bingling up. Dongfang Bingling's consciousness had been imprisoned, which caused her to be unable to wake up. Therefore, if he wanted to wake her up, he had to think of a way from the mental aspect. Compared to humans, the half-human race was more mysterious. Their talent in all aspects was also higher than humans. Therefore, in terms of waking up Dongfang Bingling, the half-human race might have more surprises. Yang Dingtian carried Dongfang Bingling into the Foxman race's territory. At this moment, he was wearing a black cloak that covered his entire body. This attire was not very strange, because many high priests dress like this. As for Dongfang Bingling, he directly placed her on the back of a horse. The Foxman race had a total of 3 tribes in the Dongli grasslands. In total, there were more than 1 million people. The 3 tribes were considered to be united on major issues. However, there were also endless internal disputes. Day by day, Bella's tribe was the largest among the 3 tribes. It had about 4 to 500,000 people and a territory of nearly 1,000 square kilometers. The reason why the Foxman race was divided into 3 tribes was because the 3 tribes looked very different. Day by Day Bella's tribe was very similar to humans. Only their tail and ears had the characteristics of a fox. As for the other 2 tribes, one of them not only had the tail, ears, eyes, and even the face had the characteristics of a fox. As for the other tribe, in addition to these, even their feet had the characteristics of a fox. They did not look like humans anymore. Therefore, among the 3 tribes of the Foxman race, Day by Day Bella was considered to be the closest to humans. Of course, because Dugufengwu came to steal their sacred artifact, this closeness to humans was bound to be severely affected. The central city of Day by Day Bella's Foxman race tribe was called Na Bella. Of course, although it was called a city, it was just a slightly bigger town. Previously, when Yang Dingtian entered, he was immediately placed into a sealed carriage. As it passed by in a hurry, he didn't see it clearly. This time, when he entered Na Bella again, Yang Dingtian took a closer look at this town. The entire Na Bella was built in a giant valley. Apart from the giant city gate at the entrance, there were almost no traces of a city. It was just a slightly bigger village. Densely packed houses were distributed everywhere. Some were made of stone, some were made of wood. Even though they weren't luxurious, they were still elegant. After entering this valley city, there were countless houses that were built along the mountain and extended for dozens of miles. There were many roads that extended to the horizon like ribbons, and it was indeed filled with extraordinary visual impact. However, after entering Na Bella, Yang Dingtian still felt a sense of nervousness. Most of the houses had gold coins for their doors, and there weren't many pedestrians on the road. Most of the shops by the roadside were closed. On the road, there would often be groups of patrolling cavalry passing by. Something seemed to have happened to Day by Day Bella's Foxman race. However, it shouldn't be something as serious as an enemy invasion. The city gate wasn't heavily guarded, and Yang Dingtian didn't encounter any interrogation on the road. Yang Dingtian didn't know where Day by Day Bella's residence was, but he was the chieftain. Therefore, after asking around, he found out that Day by Day Bella lived on the mountain peak. Yang Dingtian was just about to urge his horse to gallop up the mountain peak when a pair of Foxman knights suddenly chased after him and asked, "Are you going to the chieftain's castle?" Yang Dingtian was immediately filled with vigilance. He nodded and didn't answer. "We have been waiting for you for a long time, my lord," the leader of the knights said. "We will escort you to see the chieftain." Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be startled. What did this knight mean? They had been waiting for him for a long time? After all, Yang Dingtian was currently in disguise, and no one could recognize him. However, after a moment of hesitation, Yang Dingtian still nodded and followed the knight to Day by Day Bella's residence. Day by Day Bella's chieftain's mansion was a castle that was about a few hundred acres in size. It was built with huge stones and wood, and was the most similar to human buildings in the entire Foxman race. From this, one could see how close she was to humans. The castle didn't appear to be luxurious, but it was beautiful and elegant. Even the stone slabs were a faint white color. However, after entering the castle, Yang Dingtian could clearly feel an oppressive aura. All the warriors, servants, and maids were walking cautiously, not daring to make any noise. No one spoke to each other either. However, the whole castle was filled with red banners, as if there was something joyous going on. "Is your chieftain holding a wedding?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Yes," the leader of the knights said. "In 3 days our Princess Xiang Xiang and Lord Lei Ming will be married." Princess Xiang Xiang? Yang Dingtian immediately thought of that beautiful, gentle, and spirited girl. She could be considered the most beautiful girl in the Foxman race. Her beauty was dazzling. Chapter 275. "Oh, then I really have to congratulate you," Yang Dingtian said with a smile. "Princess Xiang Xiang is beautiful and kind. Her husband must be very outstanding to be a match for her." The leader of the knights said, "Sir is right. In our entire tribe, The only one who is a match for Princess Xiang Xiang is Sir Lei Ming. Sir Lei Ming is our Foxman tribe's chief sacred warrior knight, the youngest elder of the Elder Council, and the #1 youth expert of the Foxman tribe. Before the leader of the knights finished speaking, a pleasantly surprised and respectful voice sounded out. Sir, our Sir Lei Ming has personally come to welcome you. Immediately after, the entire group of knights got down from their horses and knelt down, shouting in unison, We pay our respects to Sir Lei Ming. At the same time, the surrounding servants stopped what they were doing, stood in place and bowed. Moreover, the gazes of this group of people towards Lei Ming were filled with passion and worship. It seems that this Lei Ming not only has a lot of authority in the Foxman tribe, he also has a huge reputation. Foxman tribe's sacred warrior Lei Ming Bela pays his respects to Sir High Priest. Lei Ming took a few steps forward, pulled out his sword and placed it on the ground, then bowed. Yang Dingtian was startled. He actually called him Sir High Priest. It seems that they have mistaken him for someone else. However, he did not know who this Sir High Priest was. Yang Dingtian raised his head and immediately saw this Lei Ming. As expected, he was handsome and as tall as a mountain. He was 1.9 meters tall, with deep eyes and a tall nose bridge. His handsome face seemed to be filled with sunlight at all times. Yang Dingtian could also be considered to be quite good-looking. However, when facing this #1 youth expert of the Foxman tribe, regardless of appearance or figure, he could only feel a deep jealousy. At first, Yang Dingtian wanted to deny that he was Sir High Priest. However, after thinking about it, he gave up on this idea and only nodded his head indifferently. A few days ago, I sent someone to respectfully request High Priest to treat my foster father. Unexpectedly, High Priest has already arrived today. I am truly grateful. Lei Ming continued. Yang Dingtian now understood that the Foxman race had already sent people to invite a high priest to treat Day by Day Bella. However, Yang Dingtian had disguised himself as a high priest, which was why Lei Ming and the others had misunderstood. Yang Dingtian originally wanted to ask about Day by Day Bella's illness, but after thinking about it, he decided against it. He was afraid that he would be exposed if he asked. Half a year ago, Day by Day Bella fought against Qin Huayu, Dugufingwu, and Guduwuhuan. He wasn't at a disadvantage even when facing 3 martial supreme experts. In the end, Yan Bieqin intervened and pierced Day by Day Bella with his sword, causing him to be on the verge of death. If Ba Bai didn't arrive in time, he would have already died. After that, Yang Dingtian was brought into the underwater red crystal space by Ba Bai. After that, he never saw Day by Day Bella again. Furthermore, there was a huge change in heaven and earth. It was unknown how he managed to return to the tribe. After these thoughts flashed past his mind, Yang Dingtian said indifferently, "Lead the way." "Yes." Lei Ming replied and led the way alone. Lei Ming brought Yang Dingtian to the most central building. They followed the stairs and walked up to the highest floor. The highest floor was around 30 meters above the ground. When they arrived at a door, Lei Ming pushed it open and said, "Lord High Priest, please enter." This was a very large bedroom, and it was very bright. There were huge windows around the room that were inlaid with natural transparent glass, allowing the light from the outside to shine in. There were 3 huge cupboards in the room. At this moment, flames were burning fiercely in the cupboards. In the middle of the bedroom, there was a huge bed that was covered with soft fur. There was a person lying on top of it. This person was the Foxman race's matriarch, Day by Day Bella. With a single glance, Yang Dingtian didn't dare to believe that this withered and skinny person was Day by Day Bella. When Yang Dingtian saw Day by Day Bella previously, she was already 40 to 50 years old. She was extremely charming and handsome. In terms of looks, she wasn't inferior to this Lei Ming in front of him. In terms of grace and bearing, she was superior. However, the Day by Day Bella in front of him was really like dry firewood. Her originally glossy and shiny hair was now white and colorless. If not for the fact that Yang Dingtian could sense her aura, he would even think that the person lying on the bed was a dead person. "Lord High Priest, please treat my foster father," Lei Ming said respectfully. Yang Dingtian took a few steps forward and gently pressed on Day by Day Bella's neck artery. Then, he pressed on his chest where his heart was and finally felt his wrist for a pulse. He was heavily injured. When he fought with someone, his profound energy was exhausted and he was on the verge of death. Furthermore, his body was heavily injured and he lost too much blood. This caused his profound veins to dry up and his energy sea to crack. Yang Dingtian said indifferently. Just as Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Lei Ming's body trembled and said, Lord High Priest is truly a deity. You only touched him slightly, and you actually knew everything. Of course, Yang Dingtian knew everything clearly. This was because he had seen how Day by Day Bella was injured with his own eyes. Patriarch Juri's cultivation is astonishing. It's hard to find an opponent within a radius of 1,000 miles. Who could cause him to be so heavily injured? Yang Dingtian asked. Lei Ming said, I wasn't in the clan at that time. I heard from the clansmen that a very powerful and beautiful woman had snatched away our clan's Saint Core. When foster father heard about it, he chased after her to take it back. Just when foster father was about to defeat that woman and take back the Saint Core, another human expert suddenly appeared. The two of them weren't a match for foster father. Therefore, the two of them tried their best to escape towards the center of the burial ground. Foster father chased after them alone. The clan's experts wanted to follow him, but they were stopped by foster father. Everyone felt that foster father alone was more than enough to fight the two of them. If it wasn't for foster father's benevolence, the two of them would have already died under his sword. Therefore, foster father chased into the depths of the burial ground alone. But who would have thought that he would never come back? Half a day later, the clansmen went to the burial ground to search for him. After 3 days, foster father was found floating on the lake in the center. At that time, he was already at his last gasp and unconscious. Lei Ming continued. However, the two of them definitely weren't a match for foster father. They definitely had other helpers there. Yang Dingtian nodded, but he didn't show any concern. Lord High Priest, can you cure my foster father? Lei Ming asked. Yang Dingtian originally wanted to ask Day by Day Bella about how to save Dongfang Bingling. However, the other party had unexpectedly become like this. Yang Dingtian was confident that the holy water could save him. However, it was difficult for Yang Dingtian to make a decision on whether to save him or not. This was because the person in front of him was undoubtedly a risk. If he could save someone who was at his last gasp, Yang Dingtian would definitely become a rare commodity. At that time, it would be troublesome for him to leave. Of course, Yang Dingtian might feel a little guilty if he tried to remedy the situation. Moreover, the person in front of him was Xiang Xiang Bella's father. He and Xiang Xiang could be considered friends. After hesitating for a moment, Yang Dingtian nodded and said, I can save him. Lei Ming's eyes trembled. Then, he revealed a trace of joy and said, What materials do you need to prepare? Lord High Priest, please instruct me. I will immediately prepare them. Yang Dingtian said, I don't need any materials. I have everything I need. I don't need any materials. Lei Ming was slightly stunned. Then, he said, Then, Lord High Priest, please rest for a while. Tomorrow morning, I will start the treatment for my foster father. No need. I can treat him now. Yang Dingtian said. In an instant, Lei Ming was completely stunned. He revealed an expression of disbelief. Then, the smile on his face disappeared. He walked over and pressed the door that was already tightly shut. After confirming that it was closed, he whispered to Yang Dingtian. Lord High Priest Galu, have you received the gift I sent over? Seeing Lei Ming's slightly strange face and voice, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Then, he vaguely acknowledged. I believe you have already seen the code words on it. Lei Ming continued. Code words? Can you say it again? Yang Dingtian said. When he said this, Lei Ming's expression changed. He said, Lord Galu, what do you mean? Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. However, his voice became cold as he said, I only asked you to repeat it. What's wrong? Lei Ming's gaze shot over like lightning. Then, he said indifferently, you can save my foster father because this will show your abilities. You can also make Xiang Xiang agree to marry me officially. However, you have to make sure that he never wakes up. When he said this, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a chill down his spine. The handsome and sunny chief knight of the Foxman race in front of him, the foster son of Day by Day Bella, was actually a poisonous snake. A poisonous snake that was filled with wild ambitions. In this way, not only would Day by Day Bella be in danger, even Xiang Xiang would be in danger. No wonder he hadn't seen Xiang Xiang Bella since he came in. By right, as a daughter, she should always be by her father's side and serve him. Suddenly, many thoughts flashed through Yang Dingtian's mind. Then, his eyes suddenly became evil. In order to make it easier for Yang Dingtian to move around the Dongli grasslands, he had disguised himself as a middle-aged priest. Now that his eyes were emitting an evil light, there was almost no flaw in his disguise. That's right. You gave me many gifts, but there wasn't anything that I particularly wanted. Yang Dingtian suddenly said indifferently. What do you want? Lei Ming asked. A woman, a beautiful woman. Yang Dingtian said. Can't you see that I have an unconscious woman by my side right now? Wherever I go, I will bring her with me. Moreover, I can wake her up at any time to serve me. When Lei Ming heard Yang Dingtian's condition, his expression immediately relaxed. He said, A beauty, is it? Don't worry, you can have as many as you want. No, I only want one, Yang Dingtian said. And the most beautiful one in the Foxman race. She is your fiancée, Princess Xiang Xiang. Of course, I only want one. When he said this, Lei Ming's expression changed drastically. His eyes were instantly filled with killing intent. Chapter 276. Then, she walked out, and Lei Ming followed her out. Then, the door slowly closed. Only Yang Dingtian and the unconscious Day by Day Bella were left in the huge bedroom. Yang Dingtian first drew all the curtains, then took out a cup of holy water from his space ring and poured it into an ordinary nourishing pill. This was because Yang Dingtian realized that the effect of mixing the holy water into the pill was even better. At least, the medicinal effect would spread faster throughout the body. After making the pill, Yang Dingtian was about to feed it to Day by Day Bella. At this moment, a strange voice suddenly sounded from outside. Lei Ming, I'm coming. This was the voice of an elderly man. It was not loud, but it rang in everyone's ears. Furthermore, after hearing it, one would involuntarily trust the owner of this voice, and even feel a sense of admiration. After listening to it, one would even feel like falling asleep. This was a very advanced spiritual spell. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly trembled, then he hurriedly walked to the window and pulled open the curtains. Instantly, an elderly man wearing a black priest's cloak and riding on a red-crowned crane floated over. The priest's cloak was exactly the same as Yang Dingtian's, and even the fire patterns on it were exactly the same. It was no wonder that Lei Ming and the rest had mistaken him at the beginning. When he was about 10 meters away from the castle, the elderly man on the red-crowned crane lifted his cloak and revealed his true face. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was immediately filled with admiration. What a handsome face! After coming to this world, Yang Dingtian had rarely seen such an otherworldly person. Although this elderly man was very old, and his hair and beard were completely white, his face was as clear as jade. He was extremely charming, and his eyes were deep and full of spirit. He had white hair and a youthful complexion. At first glance, one would feel admiration, and feel that this was a noble and elegant person. If Yang Dingtian had not known about this person's background beforehand, he would have had a good impression of him. Furthermore, this person was completely human, and there were no traces of the half-human race on him. Who are you? Lei Ming gripped his sword tightly and asked cautiously. This old man is Galu. You came all the way here to invite this old man to treat your foster father's illness. Why are you asking me who I am now? You really don't know the situation, the old man said with a smile. Whether it was his temperament or his words, it was like a spring breeze. When Lei Ming heard this voice, his expression immediately changed. Then, he suddenly pulled out his sword, kicked open the door, and rushed in. He shouted at Yang Ditian sternly. You, who exactly are you? Yang Ditian was startled, and he cursed inwardly. Priest Galu, who was invited by Lei Ming, actually came. Of course, Yang Ditian could still rush over to Day by Day Bella's side and feed her the pill. However, after a moment of hesitation, Yang Dingtian immediately gave up on this plan. He turned to Lei Ming and asked, Me? My name is Nera. Na Lu? Thunder said sternly. You are not Galu? Then why are you pretending to be Galu? You must be harboring evil intentions by coming to my Foxman tribe. I will immediately tear you to pieces. After saying that, Lei Ming's body suddenly burst with powerful xianqi and he rushed over. If the person in front of him was not Galu, then it would be troublesome. Lei Ming had already told him all his evil intentions. As long as Yang Ditian opened his mouth, Lei Ming would be finished. Therefore, he naturally had to kill him to silence him. Lei Ming's sword instantly slashed in front of him. Yang Dingtian immediately sensed that this person's cultivation was not at the martial honorable level, but he was very close to it. Although he was about 3 levels higher than himself, Yang Dingtian was absolutely certain that this person would not be able to hurt him. If they were to fight, this person would definitely die under his sword. Yang Dingtian did not pull out his sword. Instead, he retreated with lightning speed. He used the flight technique and flew dozens of meters away, dodging Lei Ming's sword. Boom! Lei Ming's sword instantly slashed on the thick stone wall, creating a huge crack in the wall. Seeing that Yang Dingtian could actually fly, Lei Ming's expression immediately changed. Then, he ferociously channeled his xianqi, wanting to use a xian skill to kill him. Wait! At this moment, Xiang Bela rushed over and said, This high priest Nera was invited by me to treat my father. What? Lei Ming was startled and immediately looked at Yang Dingtian. I'd only received a heavy gift from 2 people, saying that the Foxman tribe's patriarch wanted me to treat his injuries. However, I don't know who invited me here. Yang Dingtian said. So when Lei Ming received me at the beginning, I thought that he was the one who invited me here. I didn't expect that it wasn't you. No wonder you kept calling me Galu. I thought it was just a different pronunciation of different characters. After this explanation, Lei Ming immediately looked at Yang Dingtian in bewilderment. Currently, it seemed that it would be very difficult for him to directly kill Yang Dingtian to silence him. He could only pray that this high priest Nera was indeed a greedy and lecherous person, so he wouldn't reveal his evil intentions. After this crisis passed, he would then find the Saint Envoy to send experts to kill him. Since it's like this, now that Lord Galu is here, there's no need for you. You can leave. Lei Ming waved his hand and said. Leave? Yang Dingtian said. I, Nera, am a person who pays attention to my reputation. Now that I've received the gift and slept with the beauty, how can I leave before my injuries are healed? I can still return the gift to you, but how can I return the beauty that I slept with and the virginity that I took? When these words came out, Xiang couldn't help but blush. She clearly knew that she shouldn't, but she couldn't help but fiercely glare at him. However, at this moment, she already knew that Lei Ming was harboring evil intentions. Clearly, this Galu wasn't a good person either. Of course, she couldn't let him treat her father's injuries. Immediately, Princess Xiang said, He can't leave? Even if he wants to leave, he has to treat my father first. Big brother, this Mr. Galu was invited by you. And this Nera was invited by me. The one who's injured is my father, so it should be up to me to decide who should treat him. Lei Ming's expression changed and said, Little sister, Lord Galu's resurrection technique is famous for thousands of miles, and this Nera is completely a greedy and lecherous liar. How can you let him treat foster father? Xiang said. This Nera is a scoundrel, I know. However, I have absolute confidence in his medical skills. At that time, I was saved by a few powerful humans in the desert. Among them, 2 of them were saved by this Nera when they were on the brink of death. Moreover, now that we've paid such a huge price, it's impossible to let him leave just like that. Lei Ming naturally wouldn't agree. Immediately, the two of them were in a deadlock. Xiang Xiang directly took out a bone whistle and placed it in her small mouth to blow. Instantly, a distant sound rang out, spreading very far away. "Little sister, what are you doing?" Lei Ming asked. Xiang Xiang said, "Since the two of us can't make a decision, then let's invite the elders of the tribe to make a decision together." Immediately, Lei Ming's expression became even more unsightly. About half an hour later, more than 10 elders of the Foxman tribe rushed over one after another and gathered in the bedroom on the top floor. After hearing the argument between Princess Xiangxiang Bela and Lei Ming, more than a dozen elders fell into a conflict and were divided into two factions. One faction supported Xiangxiang Bela. They believed that the one who was injured was her father, and that she had the right to decide who should treat her father. The other faction believed that High Priest Gulu's reputation was widespread, and this Nera was completely unheard of. It was very likely that he was just a liar. Furthermore, day by day Bela was the tribe leader of the Foxman tribe and shouldered the heavy responsibility of the tribe. Therefore, he was no longer completely Princess Xiangxiang's father. Among the two factions, the majority supported Lei Ming. Therefore, everyone was completely inclined to let Gulu treat day by day Bela. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was already completely aware of Gulu's reputation. To say that his reputation was widespread was already an understatement. In many people's hearts, he was practically a living immortal who could bring the dead back to life and was omnipotent. Furthermore, he saved people without asking for any remuneration. He was completely like a living bodhisattva. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was filled with even more vigilance towards Gulu. It seemed that this person could really save the dying and heal the injured. Furthermore, this person came from the Holy Temple. To be able to invest so much in the Dongli grassland, his ambitions were probably not small. Seeing that the situation was almost set, Princess Xiangxiang was instantly burning with anxiety. She gritted her teeth and said, "The one who is injured is my father. I have decided to let Nera treat my father. If he can't save my father, I will commit suicide in front of everyone and take the initiative to give up the hereditary rights of the tribe leader." Once these words were spoken, everyone present was instantly shocked. Chapter 277. Firstly, if day by day Bela couldn't be cured, Xiangxiang would commit suicide in front of everyone. Giving up the hereditary rights of the clan leader would be shocking enough. For thousands of years, the clan leader of this branch of the Foxman race had been passed down from generation to generation in the family of day by day Bela. The hereditary rights of the clan leader were indisputable. If the clan leader didn't have a son, then the position would be passed down to a daughter, and a son-in-law would marry into the family. Their son would still have the surname Bela and would inherit the position of the clan leader. If a clan leader didn't have a son or daughter, then they would adopt a son from their own race to inherit the position of the clan leader. Therefore, when Princess Xiangxiang said that she would give up the hereditary rights of the clan leader, it was an earth-shattering matter. It was a huge temptation to all the elders present. All the elders of the Foxman race were the leaders of the various clans. They would never be able to become the clan leader of the Foxman race. Once they became the clan leader of the Foxman race, their clan would instantly expand and strengthen. This was because in the entire half-human race, every clan could own different territories and armies. In order for the clan leader to have great power, the clan leader would own almost half of the territories and armies. In order to save her father, Xiangxiang Bela decided to cut off all means of retreat, and proposed this trump card condition. At this moment, Lei Ming's expression changed drastically. Of course, he could tell that something was wrong. Princess Xiangxiang insisted on letting Na Lu treat day by day Bela. It was obvious that she was suspicious and wary of Lei Ming and Gulu. Furthermore, Na Lu and Xiangxiang's relationship was definitely not ordinary. The hostility from before was definitely an act. This way, Lei Ming would be in danger. In other words, if Na Lu cured day by day Bela, Lei Ming's death would come. This was because Xiang Xiang might already know about Lei Ming's scheme. At this moment, Yang Dingtian could obviously expose Lei Ming's scheme when they were fighting for the right to treat Bella. Lei Ming wouldn't dare to kill all the elders of the Foxman race present. However, Yang Dingtian didn't have any evidence to prove Lei Ming's conspiracy. It could be said that Yang Dingtian had slandered Lei Ming in order to fight for the treatment rights. Therefore, Yang Dingtian didn't expose him. At this moment, Xiang Xiang's trump card was revealed, giving up the hereditary right of the patriarch. These elders immediately changed their tone. That's right. After all, the old patriarch is Princess Xiang Xiang's father. He has the right to decide who should be treated. That's right. Moreover, when the old patriarch was unconscious, Princess Xiang Xiang was the only successor. She was basically equivalent to the patriarch, and had the right to exercise the patriarch's authority. Hearing everyone's words, Xiang Xiang finally let out a long sigh of relief. Of course, she had no confidence in Yang Dingtian's ability to cure her father. She didn't have much interaction with Yang Dingtian. Previously, she only had a hazy favorable impression of him. This favorable impression came from the fact that Yang Dingtian had saved her life before. Also, Yang Dingtian was a human. She had always had a longing for humans in her heart. Moreover, Yang Dingtian could fly and had once carried her to the sky. All these were still favorable impressions and feelings. It didn't turn into love between a man and a woman. However, just now, the two of them were forced to have an extremely intimate relationship. This caused a qualitative change in Xiang Xiang's mentality. Moreover, after knowing Lei Ming's wild ambition, she could only place all her hopes on Yang Dingtian. Moreover, even if Yang Dingtian couldn't save her father, it would be better for her to give the patriarch's position to another powerful family in the Foxman race than to fall into the hands of the evil Lei Ming. Lei Ming was her sworn brother. Her father also thought highly of him. In fact, day by day Bella took Lei Ming as her adopted son because she wanted to choose a husband for Xiang Xiang. Day by day Bella was an infatuated person. After his wife passed away, even if he only had one daughter, he had no intention of remarrying. Although Xiang Xiang didn't have any romantic feelings for Lei Ming, they were still siblings. However, after discovering Lei Ming's secret by chance, Xiang Xiang was filled with disgust towards Lei Ming. Moreover, after her father was seriously injured and unconscious. During the Elder Assembly, Lei Ming made Xiangxiang Bela go to the temple to pray for blessings. He used moral pressure to drive Xiangxiang Bela away from Juri Bela's side. After that, he completely controlled all the armed forces in the Patriarch's castle. At this moment, Xiang Xiang was already very wary of Lei Ming. Therefore, when Yang Dingtian mentioned Lei Ming's wild ambition, Xiang Xiang immediately believed him after being slightly shocked. Therefore, Lei Ming was at his wit's end. He only knew that if he allowed this Nair to cure day by day Bella, only death would await him. In his panic, Lei Ming couldn't help but look at Galu. Galu walked out leisurely and said to Yang Dingtian, "Mister, please." Yang Dingtian took a step forward and sat opposite Galu. "My real name isn't Galu. It's Yin Tianchong. Have you heard of it before?" Galu said slowly. Yang Dingtian quickly asked in his mind, "Master, who is this Yin Tianchong?" Dong Fong Minmi exclaimed, "Yin Tianchong? He used to be an elder of Black Heaven sect. He suddenly disappeared over 10 years ago. I didn't expect him to be here. Back then, he had a very high status in Black Heaven sect. He was an alchemist and a beast speaker." Yang Dingtian pretended to look up and said, "Yin Tianchong? Black Heaven sect's elder, alchemist, and beast speaker. His status was only second to Zhu Qingzhu. I didn't expect you to be here after disappearing over 10 years ago." This time, it was Galu's turn to be surprised. Over 10 years ago, his status in Black Heaven sect was very high. However, he kept a low profile and not many people knew about him. In addition, Zhu Qingzhu had wantonly banned the news of him. Therefore, very few people knew about him. However, he didn't expect this Nair to know about him. It seemed like this person's background wasn't simple. Black Heaven sect is the second most powerful sect in the world. I'm the alchemist elder and beast speaker elder of Black Heaven sect. Therefore, I'm afraid that there aren't many people who can surpass me in terms of alchemy or healing. Galoo said indifferently. Patriarch Jury has delayed the rise and fall of the entire Foxman race. Therefore, the treatment should be more reliable. Therefore, Buffon, please show me your name in the human civilization. If you are truly capable, I will naturally decline modestly. Of course, Senior must take note that I know all the outstanding experts in the human civilization, be it spiritual masters or alchemists. Galoo's meaning was very clear. If Yang Dingtian tried to impersonate Galoo, Galoo would definitely expose him. Yang Dingtian smiled faintly and said, "Before I reveal my true identity, can Mr. Galoo tell me why you suddenly disappeared from Black Heaven sect?" I offended Xu Qingzhu and stopped him from practicing a terrifying martial art. Galoo said indifferently. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's heart couldn't help but thump. Could the terrifying martial art that Galoo mentioned be the soul-devouring mystic Qi? Now, Senior should tell me your true identity, Galoo said. Yang Dingtian let out a deep sigh. He lifted his cloak and revealed an ugly and sinister face. Then, he said slowly, "Sea of Hades, Miju Tuchuo." Galoo's body trembled when he heard this. The Miju Tuchuo that Yang Dingtian mentioned really existed. He was also the most brilliant alchemist in the Sea of Hades. He was the one who cured Yang Dingtian's terrible injuries. Yang Dingtian didn't see him after he woke up. However, he often interacted with him when he was unconscious. Moreover, he knew what he looked like from the portrait in the Sea of Hades. Therefore, Yang Dingtian's current appearance was a mask made of human skin. Then, he put on makeup and disguised himself as Miju Tuchuo. Of course, they weren't exactly the same. However, it was easy for extremely ugly people to resemble each other. "Senior Miju? It's really you," Galoo said in surprise. "I really didn't expect it. In this world, only Senior Miju can surpass me in alchemy and healing skills. However, Senior Miju has an outstanding position in the Sea of Hades. How did you end up here?" "If I remember correctly, the people of the Sea of Hades can't leave without orders." Yang Dingtian sighed and said faintly, "I've obtained a tube of Naga's blood. It's golden in color." Everyone's facial expression changed drastically when they heard this. The blood of Naga was the most precious treasure in the world. Unlike humans, the huge energy of Naga was contained in their blood. Moreover, the blood of Naga was more direct. They used color to differentiate the grades. The golden color of Naga's blood was the highest grade. If one had a tube of Naga's blood, no matter if it was used to concoct elixirs or medicine, it could make one's cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. "I don't think I need to say what's next," Yang Dingtian said. Galoo said, "If you're really Senior Miju, then the treatment of Patriarch Jury should be done by Senior Miju. However, this is a serious matter. Can Senior Miju find something that can prove your identity? For example, the tube of Naga's blood that you mentioned?" Galoo's words were full of ulterior motives. If Yang Dingtian couldn't take out the tube of Naga's blood, then he wouldn't be able to prove his identity. If Yang Dingtian could take out the tube of Naga's blood, then it would arouse the greed of the entire Foxman race. By then, it would be difficult for him to leave the Dongli grassland alive. I have already handed over the tube of Naga's blood. Otherwise, how could I still be alive? Of course, even if I had handed over the tube of Naga's blood, I would never be able to return to the land of humans. Yang Dingtian sighed sorrowfully. Sigh. The matters of the world always make people sigh. However, the Dongli grassland is a noble and simple place. It's like a paradise. It's best for people like you and me who have no desires to die of old age here. That's true. Yang Dingtian's voice was filled with boundless loneliness. Yang Dingtian's acting was extremely outstanding. Even though Xiang knew that the man in front of her was Yang Dingtian, she couldn't help but treat him as Miju Tuchuo who had a home in the Netherworld Sea but couldn't return. Galoo continued, "Of course, I believe in Senior Miju. However, this matter is too serious. If Senior Miju can't take out anything else to prove your identity, then let me treat this person. Of course, Senior Miju can also give me some pointers. Patriarch Juri will be saved by the two of us together. At this moment, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but sigh inwardly. This person was really shrewd and ruthless. Every sentence of his was like a needle hidden in silk floss. It was impossible to refuse. However, the matter at hand was too serious. Of course, he wouldn't be bound by Galu's means. He smiled faintly and said, "Actually, there's another method. Let me explain it to Senior Miju." Galu smiled and said, "Senior Miju must have a brilliant idea. Tianchong is all ears." Yang Dingtian said, "How about this? Let's have a competition of medical skills. Whoever is more brilliant will save Patriarch Juri." Galu smiled and said, "That's a good idea." Everyone nodded their heads. They felt that this suggestion was very good and the fairest. Galu said, "However, there's no first place in literature and no second place in medicine. Medical skills aren't like martial arts that can be competed. It's not easy to determine who is better." Yang Dingtian said, "How about this? We'll find 10 people who are on the verge of death. Some of them are seriously injured, some of them are seriously ill, and so on. Then each of us will pick 5 people to treat. We'll see who can save more people in the shortest amount of time. 2 hours will be the limit. How about it?" Galu hadn't expressed his opinion yet. Everyone nodded their heads and expressed that this was a good idea. At this moment, Princess Xiang Xiang looked at Yang Dingtian with worry. She was the clearest about Yang Dingtian's background. She knew that he wasn't Miju Tucho who had brilliant medical skills. His opponent was the genuine mystic sky sex master alchemist in Tianchong. After this comparison, she was afraid that Yang Dingtian had no chance of winning. Senior brother Miju's idea is indeed impressive. Let's do it this way, Galu said. Immediately, both sides agreed to a medical competition. Whoever won would treat day by day Bella. Half an hour later, they found 10 people who were on the verge of death. These 10 people's conditions were different. Some were seriously injured, some were old, some were seriously ill, some were poisoned, and some were dying. In short, it was impossible for either side to have a left arm under such circumstances. The 10 people who were on the verge of death were lying on the ground. Instantly, the atmosphere in the room was filled with a sense of decay. However, there were no wails because they didn't even have the strength to scream. Senior brother Miju, you're a sage. You can choose first. Galu appeared to be very gentlemanly. Yang Dingtian didn't stand on ceremony. He directly picked 5 people who were on the verge of death. Moreover, the 5 people he chose were considered to be in very serious condition. They looked as if they could die at any time. Galu also chose the other 5 people. Next, both sides began to treat them. They treated them in front of everyone without any concealment. Galu's treatment method was as smooth as flowing water. He did it as he pleased without any difficulty or sluggishness. He was completely calm and there was almost no smoke or fire in his actions. He looked extremely comfortable and at a glance, one could tell that he was an expert. His treatment method was similar to that of a master alchemist in this world. He inserted his celestial chi to sense the medicine and consumed it. However, compared to other high priests, Galu's method was more impressive. He melted the medicine in his palm and directly delivered it to the patient's vital parts. The first person was completely unconscious. His entire face was green and he was so skinny that he didn't even look human anymore. Moreover, he couldn't even feel his breathing or heartbeat. However, under Galu's treatment, his face gradually became rosy. Moreover, his chest rose and fell as he started to breathe. Only a quarter of an hour later, the dying man opened his eyes and sat up in a daze. Instantly, everyone present widened their eyes and looked at this scene in disbelief. "Godly skill, it's godly skill!" everyone exclaimed in admiration. Lei Ming's face immediately had a trace of pride while Xiang Xiang had a trace of worry. After treating the first person, Galu came to the second person. This was a handsome young man. Currently, His eyes were open and he wasn't unconscious. However, he was completely unable to move. Moreover, his face wasn't pale. Instead, it was surging with a strange redness. Immediately after, an elder suddenly walked out and bowed in front of Galoo. "Sir Galoo, this person is my son. During the battle with the Wolf Clan, he was hit by the Wolf Clan's 10,000 cavalry with a giant hammer. His internal organs have already been shattered. Now, he's completely relying on his celestial chi and treasures to stay alive. Even so, he won't be able to hold on for more than 3 days. Sir Galoo, please save my son." Galoo hurriedly went forward to help him up. He inserted his celestial chi to sense the young man's injuries and frowned slightly. "What? Is there no hope?" that elder exclaimed. "If it was someone else, there might be no hope. However, since I'm here, there might be hope." At this moment, arrogance finally appeared in Galoo's tone. Then, he took out a jade tube from his bosom and opened it. He poured out a red object from it. After that object fell into Galoo's palm, it started to squirm. Everyone could clearly see that it was a red worm. It was similar to the leeches on Earth. "This is a 10,000 lives worm. It has an almost undying body and can split into countless lives. It can grow and fuse with any place," Galoo said. "This thing can be considered a treasure between heaven and earth. Your son was lucky to have met me and obtained this worm. Otherwise, even an immortal wouldn't be able to save him." Then, celestial chi gushed out from Galoo's palm. His entire palm turned red and started to tremble at an extremely high speed. Instantly, the 10,000 lives worm in his palm shattered into countless strands. From dozens to hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands. In the end, it was so fine that it was almost invisible to the naked eye. After splitting the 10,000 lives worm to the extreme, Yang Dingtian's palm suddenly slapped the young man's back. Immediately, the countless tiny 10,000 lives worm drilled into the young man's body. Galoo circulated his celestial chi and started to control the 10,000 lives worm to repair his damaged internal organs. 3 minutes passed. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes passed. 18 minutes passed. A miracle happened. The bewitching red on the dying young man's face gradually dissipated. The light in his eyes also gradually condensed. Then, he who was completely unable to move his hands tried to move. Then, he tried to move his legs. Finally, his eyeballs started to move. His face had an expression of disbelief and ecstasy. Just as Galoo's palm left his back, the young man immediately stood up and rushed towards his father. "Father, I'm fine. I've been cured," the young man cried out in ecstasy. He was indeed fine. Although he was still weak, there was no lack of strength in his cries. Immediately, everyone looked at Galoo as if they had seen a god. The injured father and son immediately knelt in front of Galoo and kowtowed. "Mr. Galoo is really a god. There's no need for this competition." Chapter 278. Mr. Galoo is really a god. There's no need for this competition. That's right, Galoo was really a god. He could actually save people whose internal organs were shattered. He was really too powerful. Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian again. They really felt that there was no more suspense in this competition. Less than 3/4 of an hour later, High Priest Galoo had already saved 2 people. And Yang Dingtian still couldn't save a single person. Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian's treatment methods and shook their heads. Yang Dingtian's treatment methods were completely unseen. He actually opened the patient's eyes, looked at his tongue, felt the blood vessels on his wrist, and even took out a few needles to poke around. From start to end, they didn't see any specific treatment process. Moreover, he didn't treat the first one, so he directly threw the second one down. Before the second one was cured, he went to save the third one. Just like that, a full 45 minutes passed. The 5 patients were all tormented by Yang Dingtian, but no one could understand what he was doing. Moreover, it didn't seem to have any effect. One had to know that Galoo had already saved 2 people. And this Galoo was running around like a headless fly. Instantly, everyone's gaze towards Yang Dingtian became more and more unfriendly. They felt more and more that he was here to cheat. Lei Ming's face became colder and colder, but his gaze became more and more proud. He originally thought that this Galu would at least have some skills, but he didn't expect him to be completely ignorant and a pure liar. But even so, his dream lover, Princess Xiang Xiang, was still cheated and lost her body. Thinking of this, Lei Ming was filled with killing intent. He held his great sword and decided that as soon as the competition ended, he would completely dismember this Galu in front of him into 1,000 pieces. And towards Yang Dingtian's expression, Galu completely ignored it. He didn't show any pride on his face. After treating 2 people, Galu went to the third person. This third person seemed to be in the best condition. His complexion wasn't too bad, and he could still move his limbs. There were no obvious injuries, and he could even speak. No matter who saw it, they would think that the third patient was the easiest to treat. However, Galu walked in front of him, lifted his shirt, and glanced at his lower abdomen. Then, he inserted a strand of profound energy into his back to sense his body. After doing all this, Galu shook his head and said, "This person's profound veins are completely broken and his energy sea is cracked. His entire body's vitality is leaking out along with his profound energy. Even if a god descends to the mortal world, he won't be able to save him." As soon as he said this, the third injured person was in complete despair. Everyone present nodded, indicating that they completely agreed and obeyed Na Lu's words. Then, Gru walked to the fourth patient. At this moment, Yang Dingtian actually stopped all treatment and found a chair to sit on. Immediately, everyone snorted coldly and looked at Yang Dingtian with even more disdain and hostility. When this swindler saw that he couldn't continue lying, he decided to stop acting. He didn't even bother to put on an act and just sat there to play. However, it would not be that easy. Since he dared to deceive the Foxman race, he would definitely make him pay the price later. At this moment, Princess Xiang Xiang's beautiful face was completely filled with despair. Lei Ming walked to her side and said indifferently, "This is the genius doctor you found. You actually found him to treat foster father. Now I suspect that you have ulterior motives. In order to sit on the patriarch's seat earlier, you planned to kill foster father. You're slandering me." Princess Xiang Xiang immediately shouted in anger. After scolding, she couldn't say anything else. Lei Ming laughed coldly, pulled out his sword and said loudly, "Elders, it's very clear that this Na Lu is a swindler. If we don't kill him now, when will we? Kill him!" Immediately, a few experts pulled out their huge swords and were about to surround and kill Yang Dingtian with Lei Ming. At this moment, the first person Yang Dingtian treated suddenly opened his eyes and sat up, saying, What's going on? Did I die and come to hell?" Everyone was stunned. The first person was actually so good. One had to know that he was poisoned, a poison that couldn't be treated at all. He was supposed to die without a doubt, but now he woke up just like that. Instantly, everyone stopped their encirclement and looked at each other. Princess Xiang Xiang's face suddenly revealed an expression of disbelief and ecstasy. On the other hand, Lei Ming's complexion changed as he said, "This is completely accidental. Perhaps the poison in Neru's first patient's body suddenly disappeared. He suddenly got better and wasn't saved by Neru. He's still a liar. There's no time to lose. Everyone kill this thief." After saying that, Lei Ming raised his sword and was about to rush over. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's second patient also opened his eyes and sat up, saying, How did I get better? Where is this?" This was an old man who was at the end of his life. He was more than 130 years old. There was no treatment at all. But who would have thought that he actually came back to life? Everyone's surprise was not over yet. Immediately after, the third person directly sat up. Then it was the fourth, the fifth, these 3 people at the back. One was more serious than the other. One was more on the verge of death than the other. But who would have thought that they actually all came back to life? One might still be a coincidence, but now that all 5 people were well, it could only prove that it was Na Lu who cured them. One had to know that the serious injuries and illness of the 5 people on Yang Dingtian's side were more serious than the 5 people on Gulu's side. Now, all of them were actually saved. How could everyone present not be shocked? How could they not be shocked? So all of a sudden, there was silence in the field. Everyone really looked at Yang Dingtian like looking at a god. This Na Lu was seriously too shocking. No one could understand his treatment movements. They did not know what he was doing at all. Originally, they thought that after messing around like a headless fly, they would directly give up and shake their hands. Who knew that he had already cured them? So at this moment, everyone present looked at Yang Dingtian with eyes full of reverence. Previously, they thought that he was ridiculously taking pulses, looking at pupils, and inserting needles, but now, they all became profound and unfathomable. Gulu, who had always been elegant and calm, also had a complete change in expression at this moment. He looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. It was really a miraculous skill. He, Gulu, had always thought that his medical skills were invincible. Who would have thought that he could not even see the tail of Miju Tuchu in front of him? He could not even understand his treatment methods. It was really a world of difference. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Yang Dingtian stood up and went to the 3rd person that Gulu treated. It was this person whose meridians were all severed and his energy ocean was split open. Gulu had already determined his ending. Senior brother-in, this person's meridians are all severed and his energy ocean is split open. Do you think there is no saving him? Yang Dingtian asked. Yes, there is no saving him. Even the gods can't save him. Gulu was still full of confidence. Then let me give it a try, Yang Dingtian said. Then, he went directly to the youth whose meridians were severed and his energy ocean was split open. Like before, he pinched everywhere to check his pulse. Finally, he took out a golden needle and pierced a small pill. Then, this small pill instantly melted and completely dissolved on the surface of the golden needle. After rubbing the needle on his palm a few times, Yang Dingtian pierced the golden needle into various acupuncture points on the injured person's body. Merely 10 minutes later, a miracle happened. The youth's hands started to move. Then, he stood up with both his legs. Wave your fist, Yang Dingtian said. This youth was overjoyed at this moment. He lost his reaction and even forgot to thank Yang Dingtian. He was so immersed in ecstasy and shock that he could not wake up. After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, it was as if he had heard an imperial edict. He used all his strength and punched out. Instantly, the sound of air being torn apart was heard. This man's fist was very vigorous and powerful. It was definitely not something that a person with severed meridians could do. Everyone present was already stunned. At this moment, it was as if they had been struck by lightning. Some of them even knelt on the ground. Everything that was happening before their eyes was absolutely impossible to happen in reality. It was a miracle. It was a miracle from the heavens. Yang Dingtian smiled at Gulu and said, Mr. Gulu, do you still want to compete? Gulu's expression was lifeless. He bowed and said, No need. Senior brother is a world-shaking talent. Yin Tian Chong is far inferior. Of course, Yang Dingtian was definitely not a world-shaking medical expert. Everything was because of the sacred water. The sacred water that came from the 5 Elements Hall's secret realm. Today, he used the sacred water to save 6 people. In reality, the amount of sacred water he used was less than half a cup. First, he poured the sacred water into the pill. Then, he inserted the golden needle into the pill and let the sacred water adhere to it. After the needle was inserted into the human body, the sacred water began to take effect inside the human body. The reason why the sacred water was used so little was because the cultivation of this group of people was not high. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian only saved their lives. He did not let them recover their profound energy. Furthermore, almost 80% of the profound energy was used on the young man whose Xian meridians were shattered. Mister, I really didn't expect. Xiang rushed up and grabbed Yang Dingtian's hand. Mister, please save my father. At this moment, Gulu bowed again and said, Senior brother Miju, I shall leave everything here to you. I shall take my leave first. Laming's expression also trembled as he said, I shall send Mr. Galu off. After finishing his words, the two of them were about to leave. Senior brother Een, please wait for a moment. If you are not in a hurry, please wait for a moment. I still have some matters to consult you about, Yang Dingtian said. Galu's expression changed slightly. He swept his gaze across the crowd and nodded his head. The reason why he stayed behind was not because of his friendship with Yang Dingtian. Instead, it was because he had great confidence. He had already advanced to the Master Realm over 10 years ago. He felt that even if he stayed behind, no one here would be a match for him. Many thanks, Yang Dingtian said. Now I shall start the treatment for Patriarch Shuri. Everyone, please keep quiet. Instantly, the entire place was silent. Yang Dingtian's words were like an imperial edict. When he asked everyone to keep quiet, everyone present didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Chapter 279. Yang Dingtian came to Day by Day Bella's bed and lifted the blanket, revealing his emaciated body. Xiang's eyes reddened and she almost cried out loud. Her father used to be as handsome as a god, but now he had become like this. Yang Dingtian stood at the head of the bed and carefully stared at Day by Day Bella's body. Now, it was time for him to perform. He had to completely blind everyone and leave an indelible impression on the Foxman tribe. He had to make them worship him as if he was a god. Therefore, not only did he have to cure Day by Day Bella, he had to make it look stunning. Therefore, Yang Dingtian secretly fastened an ice talisman on his wrist and sucked a cup of holy water into his palm. Then, Yang Dingtian raised his left hand and released a surge of mystical energy. Suddenly, a gorgeous flame rose from his palm. It was filled with spiritual energy and beauty. Then, he raised his right hand and pointed at Day by Day Bella's body through the flame. Suddenly, an incomparably stunning and shocking scene appeared. A needle condensed from ice shot out from Yang Dingtian's finger. After piercing through the flame, the ice needle started to burn without any signs of melting. Whoosh! After that, the flaming icy Xian needle shot into Juri Bela's left wrist. That chilling ice needle was inserted into Juri Bela's left wrist. Half of it was exposed, and it was still burning. It looked incomparably gorgeous and mysterious. Whoosh! Then, the second ice needle shot out and pierced through the flame and into Day by Day Bella's right wrist. Whoosh! The third needle shot into Day by Day Bella's left leg. Whoosh! The fourth needle shot into Day by Day Bella's right leg. Whoosh! The fifth needle pierced through the flame and took it away. The fifth needle was half a foot long, and it burned with a flame that was almost a foot long. It directly pierced into Day by Day Bella's vitals. Instantly, the rootless frigid ice needles pierced Juri Bela's body and started burning. Everyone present could no longer describe their feelings. It was as if they were in a dream. How could a person have innate talent for fire and ice at the same time? How could the frost needles not melt when they came into contact with flames? Moreover, they were still burning. All of this was not something that could be done by human strength. Of course, the principle was actually very simple. Yang Dingtian used the energy of the ice attribute Xian talisman to condense the holy water into ice. It passed through the flames without melting because Yang Dingtian had refined the mystic flame. The mystic flame was alive, so it was completely possible to control the heat of the mystic flame. A mystic flame could have a terrifying amount of heat, or it could have no heat at all. On the other hand, the flames that Yang Dingtian summoned did not have any heat. Therefore, the frost needles did not melt after passing through them. Even if the flames were attached to the needles, they would not melt. However, no one knew the reason behind this. Everyone only knew that they had seen a miracle, a god. When the 5 frost needles burned Day by Day Bella's body to its peak, Yang Dingtian gently waved his hand. Instantly, the rootless frigid ice needles turned into countless lights and entered Day by Day Bella's body. Then, Yang Dingtian suddenly raised his hands. Instantly, day by day Bella's entire body started burning. The beautiful flames instantly engulfed her body. Ah! Everyone could not help but cry out in alarm. Their patriarch's body was actually burning. If not for the fact that they worshipped Yang Dingtian in their hearts, they would have already charged forward and dismembered Yang Dingtian. Then, a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives happened. In the raging flames, not only was day by day Bella safe and sound, she even sat up on the bed and stood up again. Through the flames, everyone could see that day by day Bella's body was rapidly changing. She was originally skinny and old, but her muscles were now regaining their youthfulness. All the wrinkles were quickly disappearing. All the dried-up white hair gradually regained its luster. He quickly regained his youthful appearance, and regained his handsome and elegant appearance. After a short while, the old and withered man disappeared and turned into a dignified and handsome middle-aged man. He looked at most 30 years old. Day by day Bella became exactly the same as before she was injured. Yang Dingtian smiled and retracted his hand. Immediately, the flames on day by day Bella's body were extinguished. The spirited and handsome Juri Bela stood in front of everyone. "Father!" Xiang Xiang sobbed and rushed into her father's arms. Everyone present could no longer withstand the pressure of this miracle, and knelt on the ground in unison. "Greetings, Master! Greetings, Chief!" The first to kneel was Yang Dingtian, followed by day Bella. At this moment, Laming's face was completely filled with fear. Gru, on the other hand, stood at the side calmly, as if he was not worried about the situation at all. Day by day Bella, who had completely recovered, came in front of Yang Dingtian and bowed. "Thank you, Master, for saving my life. The Fox clan is eternally grateful." Yang Dingtian hurriedly helped him up and said, "You're welcome, Chief." Day by day Bella continued to bow deeply, and then stood up. She looked at Laming with a lightning-like gaze and said coldly, "Laming, you're really my good adopted son." Laming's expression changed and he said in fear, "Adoptive father, don't listen to this human's slanderous words. This human saved you because he wanted to usurp the position of chief of the Fox clan. Just a few hours ago, he even used your life to threaten Xiang Xiang to give up her virginity." At this point, Lei Ming's train of thought suddenly became smoother and he said, "The purpose of this human in front of us is very clear. First, he forced Xiang Xiang to give up her virginity, and then he saved the patriarch's adoptive father. Next, he wants to marry Xiang Xiang and use his unfathomable methods to kill my adoptive father. This way, he will completely control the Fox clan." Lei Ming then pointed at Yang Dingtian and said, "Everyone can see that this human's ability is completely unfathomable. Are you willing to accept such a human as the chief of the Fox clan?" Once these words were said, the expressions of the Fox clan elders changed drastically. This group of people was indeed full of worship for Yang Dingtian, but there was also a trace of fear. Most importantly, Lei Ming's words hit the nail on the head. They could not accept letting a human become the ruler of the Fox clan. No matter how great the favor was, they could not accept it. Chapter 280. According to what Lei Ming said, this Na Lu could kill Juri Bela with his unfathomable ability after marrying Xiangxiang Bela. It was even possible for him to turn Juri Bela into a puppet. Lei Ming's psychological attack was really powerful. Seeing everyone's expression change, including day by day Bella's, Lei Ming said, "I know that because of this human's slanderous words, I can't stay in the Foxman clan any longer. But before I leave, I want to give you a piece of advice. Godfather, this Nero is really unfathomable. For the sake of the Foxman clan, you should immediately imprison him and cripple his martial arts. This way, you can make use of his ability to bring the dead back to life, and he won't be a threat to the Foxman clan. Of course, this may be against morality, but for the sake of the Foxman clan's future, Godfather must sacrifice himself for the greater good." At this moment, Yang Dingtian's expression really changed. This Lei Ming was really not an ordinary person. Even at this moment, he still wanted to find a way to turn the tables and kill Yang Dingtian. And it was obvious that many of the Foxman clan's elders were tempted. Just now, They had heard clearly that this Nero was a master alchemist from the Netherworld Sea. Because of the crime of possessing a treasure, he was chased out of the human continent and came to the Dongli grassland. He was completely helpless. Therefore, Lei Ming's suggestion was completely feasible and was very tempting to the Foxman clan's elders. Seeing that everyone was tempted, Lei Ming continued to encourage. Everyone, don't be scared by this human's methods. His ability to save people is really unfathomable, but his martial arts are only average, even worse than mine. His ability is completely focused on saving people, but his cultivation is very mediocre. If you don't believe me, I'm willing to fight with him and prove to everyone that this person is not scary at all. At this moment, Yang Dingtian really had a whole new level of respect for this person. This person's scheming methods were really powerful. He knew how to break Yang Dingtian's frightening appearance from the foundation. Seeing Lei Ming distorting the truth like this, Princess Xiang Xiang was so angry that her entire body trembled. She was about to scold him loudly and say that Yang Dingtian didn't really take advantage of her and break her chastity. Unexpectedly, Yang Dingtian gave her a look to stop her. After stopping Princess Xiang Xiang, Yang Dingtian turned to Lei Ming and sneered. What is your cultivation level? Lei Ming sneered and said. According to your human level, he is an 8-star martial ancestor. Yang Dingtian. You think I'm not as good as you? That's right. Some of your abilities are indeed unpredictable. However, your martial arts cultivation is very mediocre. Even at such an age, you are still inferior to me. Lei Ming laughed. You want to compete with me? Yang Dingtian asked. That's right. Lei Ming laughed coldly. I want to expose you. All right. Yang Dingtian said. I used to have a sword, but I lost it when I left the human continent. Then I'll use this walking stick in my hand to fight you. Yang Dingtian raised the iron stick in his hand. Everyone was shocked. The fiery red sword in Lei Ming's hand was a very powerful weapon in the Foxman race. However, the iron stick in his hand didn't seem to have any energy fluctuation. It was the crudest and clumsiest iron stick. The iron stick in Yang Dingtian's hand was obviously not an ordinary iron stick. It was a modified youngling sword. Before Yang Dingtian swallowed and refined the mystic flame, the youngling sword still had a trace of energy fluctuation. Now, the youngling sword was like an ancient well without any ripples. It had stored all its strength. So in everyone's eyes, the weapon in Yang Dingtian's hand couldn't even withstand a single blow from Lei Ming. You are courting death. Don't blame me. Lei Ming sneered and said. Just now you were able to dodge my sword aura. Now that I am using a mystic skill to attack, why don't you try dodging again? Yang Dingtian shook his head and said. It is too humiliating for me to fight with someone of your level. How about this? I will stand here without moving and not retaliating. You can use your strongest mystic skill to attack me. Humph, pretentious. Lei Ming sneered. Everyone's expression changed slightly. Lei Ming was an 8-star martial ancestor. If he stood there without moving and used a mystic skill to attack, even a martial honorable would be injured. Then, Lei Ming raised the huge sword in his hand. He chanted a chant and circulated his mystic qi. Immediately, the huge sword in his hand shined brightly. Oh! Immediately after, a phoenix mark appeared on his arm. He used his martial spirit. This was the first time Yang Dingtian met an opponent who used his martial spirit. At that time, he fought with Yifeng in Xin City. Yifeng used an evil technique, so he didn't use his martial spirit. And this Lei Ming in front of him used his martial spirit. Seeing Lei Ming's martial spirit, everyone's expression changed. This fire demon phoenix was at least an 8th or 9th grade demonic beast. It was extremely powerful and rare. With Lei Ming's ability, how could he refine a fire demon phoenix as his martial spirit? It was completely impossible. At this moment, day by day Bella's expression changed drastically. She didn't know that Lei Ming had a fire demon phoenix martial spirit. Furthermore, with Lei Ming's power, it was impossible for him to have a fire demon phoenix martial spirit. In fact, although most of the half-human clan had the bloodline of demonic beasts, there were only a few warriors who had martial spirits. Even those who had flying mounts were a minority. This was because most of the half-human clan lacked spiritual talent, and there were no beast speakers. In terms of spiritual talent, the half-human clan was extremely divided. A few clans, such as the eight-clawed human clan, had astonishing spiritual talent. As for the rest of the half-human clan, they lacked spiritual talent. Day by day Bella had coincidentally obtained a raging flame demonic dragon martial spirit. However, as the princess of the Foxman clan, Xiang Xiang didn't have her own martial spirit. Lei Ming didn't have one either. But now, Lei Ming had a fire demon phoenix martial spirit. This was completely impossible. It was obvious that there was an inside story. However, let's put aside the inside story. Once a warrior had a powerful martial spirit, his attack power would be incomparable. Lei Ming was an 8-star martial ancestor. With the addition of the fire demon phoenix martial spirit, his attack power was equivalent to 2 8-star martial revered martial artists. Therefore, his attack was undoubtedly very shocking. With the influx of profound qi, Lei Ming's huge sword was completely red. Furthermore, the fire demon phoenix pattern on his arm became brighter and brighter. In the end, his entire arm seemed to be burning. Whoo! Then, a fire demon phoenix drilled out of Lei Ming's arm and into his huge sword. Boom! In an instant, the huge sword burned fiercely. A huge burst of energy suddenly exploded. Boom! The roof of the house made of huge rocks suddenly exploded and rocks flew everywhere. Day by day Bella quickly used her profound qi to protect her daughter. Everyone's expression changed. The power of Lei Ming's profound skill was far beyond their imagination. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but wonder. He originally thought that he would be able to receive Lei Ming's 8-star martial ancestor profound skill. Now, it seemed that he was worried. Fire demon phoenix heaven-splitting arrow die! Following Lei Ming's angry roar, a huge fire demon phoenix suddenly flew out from the huge sword. His entire body turned into a huge fire illusion bow. A blood-red flame energy arrow condensed in the air. He wanted to use the fire demon phoenix martial spirit as the bow and his entire body's profound qi as the arrow to launch a fatal attack on Yang Dingtian. Whoosh! The fire demon phoenix bow was pulled to the limit. A dazzling and piercing arrow suddenly shot out. Instantly, the huge arrow was like a meteor. Everything that it passed through was turned into dust. Princess Xiang Xiang cried out in alarm and suddenly pulled day by day Bella's arm. Although the Foxman chieftain Juri Bela's mystic qi had yet to recover completely, he still circulated all of his mystic qi and wanted to envelop and protect Yang Dingtian's body. However, something frightening happened. Day by day Bella's profound qi was like mud sinking into the sea, silently disappearing into the air. Who was it that was so powerful that a master-level expert's profound qi sank into the sea? The flames on Yang Dingtian's body were completely extinguished. Just like this, Yang Dingtian did not dodge or move. An 8-star martial ancestor realm's profound skill and a powerful martial spirit combined attack was forcibly received by Yang Dingtian. He was not injured at all. Immediately, Yang Dingtian was shocked. This profound fire's power was indeed shocking. One had to know that an 8-star martial ancestor realm's profound skill's attack energy was already twice that of Yang Dingtian's. Furthermore, there was the demon phoenix martial spirit. Therefore, Lei Ming's demon phoenix heaven-splitting arrow's profound skill's attack energy was 3 to 4 times that of Yang Dingtian's cultivation. If he did not have the profound fire, Yang Dingtian's qi transformation art would only be able to dissolve about 10% of this energy. However, with the profound fire, the qi transformation art's power increased by several times. It actually dissolved half of the demon phoenix heaven-splitting arrow's energy. The profound fire's power was too shocking. With it, the qi transformation art's power increased by several times. From the outside world's perspective, this scene was completely shocking. Everyone only saw this Na Lu standing there motionlessly, as if the wind and clouds were as light as the clouds. After such a powerful demon phoenix heaven-splitting arrow pierced into his body, it disappeared without a trace like mud sinking into the ocean. Of course, they did not know that Yang Dingtian had circulated the profound fire and the Qi transformation art. They only saw Yang Dingtian standing there motionlessly, allowing himself to be attacked. Immediately, everyone was speechless. What kind of cultivation did Na Lu have? Such a powerful combination of profound skill and martial spirit was unable to move him in the slightest. As for Lei Ming, he looked as if he had seen a ghost. Previously, after the short exchange, he was very sure that Na Lu's profound Qi cultivation was not comparable to his. How did he suddenly become so powerful and terrifying? Originally, he was confident that his demon phoenix heaven-splitting arrow could kill him. Who knew that Na Lu would receive it without moving? There was not even a trace of injury. Not even a strand of hair was lost. Immediately, Lei Ming was alarmed and looked at Galu. In Lei Ming's eyes, Na Lu became incomparably mysterious and powerful. Your attack is over? Yang Dingtian smiled faintly. Lei Ming nodded instinctively. Yang Dingtian swung his sleeves lightly and said, All right, then it's my turn. Immediately, Lei Ming's body tensed up. He gripped his giant sword tightly with both hands and circulated all the remaining profound Qi in his body to defend. His heart was truly terrified as he didn't know what kind of world-shaking attack this Yang Dingtian would unleash. Therefore, he had to use all his strength to resist this attack. Everyone at the scene held their breaths and waited for Yang Dingtian's world-shaking attack. Even Geluz focused his gaze and waited for Yang Dingtian to make his move. Yang Dingtian sighed softly and said, Lei Ming, fighting with someone like you is truly a disgrace to me. After speaking, Yang Dingtian waved the iron rod in his hand lightly. It was as light as the wind and clouds. There was no strength or prestige. Even if it was used to chase away a fly, it would be too weak. Nothing happened. Nothing earth-shattering happened. Everyone stared at Yang Dingtian's hand and iron rod. Even Lei Ming stared at Yang Dingtian in shock. What are you looking at? I have already finished my attack, Yang Dingtian said faintly. He made his move just like that. There was no prestige at all. Nothing happened? Everyone at the scene was greatly disappointed. What was this? A light wave of the iron rod in his hand meant that he made his move. There was no profound Qi and no sparks. Could it be that this Yang Dingtian was going to let Lei Ming off? Lei Ming said inwardly. He finished his attack just like that. It didn't even tickle me. After circulating the profound Qi throughout his body, Lei Ming realized that he did not even lose a single strand of hair. When he heard Yang Dingtian say that his attack was over, Lei Ming couldn't help but relax. Haha, everyone saw it, right? This human is completely putting on an act. His cultivation is very mediocre. He knows that he can't hurt me, so he deliberately pretended to be magnanimous and let me off. That's why he deliberately waved his iron rod casually. It was to maintain this posture of an expert. Lei Ming sneered and said, The reason why he could receive my profound skill attack just now was not because he was very powerful. It was because he had some kind of treasure on him that could block my attack. His cultivation is actually very weak. Otherwise, he would have already made a move to kill me. Now, I suspect that the reason why he could save my foster father was entirely because he had a treasure on him. It was not his own ability at all. Yang Dingtian glanced at Lei Ming and said faintly, You're thinking too much. Then, a shocking scene appeared once again. A black smoke suddenly emerged from Lei Ming's body. Then, a thin flame directly drilled out from his stomach. But Lei Ming did not feel any pain at all. He did not even realize that he was still speaking rudely, wantonly belittling Yang Dingtian. Everyone stared at his stomach, completely stunned. Boom! Until Lei Ming's entire stomach was completely burned, he realized that his body was somewhat empty. He could not help but look down. In an instant, Lei Ming was completely stunned. He let out an earth-shattering scream. Boom! At the same time, a ball of flame suddenly emerged and completely engulfed Lei Ming. In the terrifying scream, Lei Ming fell to the ground with a loud bang, completely dead. The faces of everyone present were all deathly pale. Looking at Yang Dingtian, their eyes were once again filled with fear. Just how strong was this Yang Dingtian? Not only was his method of saving people unpredictable. Moreover, his method of killing people was even more unpredictable. The iron rod in his hand was lightly waved. There was no feeling of profound qi. It was as if even a fly could not be driven away. However, the person who was attacked by him, his qi was on fire. Only when his stomach was burned alive did he realize, and then he was completely engulfed by the raging flames and died directly. This kind of attack was too horrifying. It made people tremble with fear. Of course, the scene looked very mysterious, but the truth was not so mysterious. Yang Dingtian looked like he was just waving the iron rod casually. In fact, this was his full strength, plus the fatal blow of the profound flame. The profound skill he used was the secret fourth move of the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art, Devil Arises from the Heart. The 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art only had a total of 3 moves. This fourth move was a secret move. The first 3 moves were already stronger than the previous one. During the duel with Yi Feng, Yang Dingtian only used the first move, Flaming Wild Saber, to eliminate Yi Feng. And this fourth move, Devil Arises from the Heart, almost the majority of martial artists were unable to cultivate and use it. It had an extremely high requirement for profound veins. If it was before, Yang Dingtian's power when using this move would not be very strong. But it was different now. After possessing the profound flame, this Devil Arises from the Heart seemed to be completely tailor-made for Yang Dingtian. Chapter 281. If it was in the past, Yang Dingtian's might wouldn't be that great when he executed this move. However, it was different now. After obtaining the mystic flame, this birth of devil from the heart seemed to be tailor-made for Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's mystic flame was the million-spirit demonic flame. It was formed by countless wraiths and the fire-attributed energy of heaven and earth. It was most suitable for birth of devil from the heart. As the saying went, birth of devil from the heart, it didn't seem to have any attacking effect. Instead, it would directly ignite the mystic chi flame in the enemy's chi vessel and incinerate the enemy's body. It was very, very difficult to achieve this. As long as the enemy's cultivation was higher than one's, possessed considerable mental strength, or even entered a state of alertness, it wouldn't be effective. This kind of attack would not be effective, and even if it was effective, he could use profound qi to suppress it. Therefore, without the mystic flame, birth of devil from the heart was practically useless. It was also because of this that no matter how powerful birth of devil from the heart was, it could only be used as a secret move of the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art. Previously, even though Yang Dingtian knew that birth of devil from the heart was very powerful, he didn't use this move during his duel with Yi Feng. Now that Yang Dingtian had the mystic flame, he could silently ignite the mystic qi in Lei Ming's qi vessel and incinerate himself. Furthermore, Lei Ming was also seeking his own death. When he heard that Yang Dingtian's attack was completed and he wasn't injured at all, he couldn't wait to attack Yang Dingtian. He relaxed his defense and allowed the silent flames in his qi vessel to burn through his qi vessel and completely engulf his body and life. Just like this, using the mystic flame, the 8th grade Devil Flame Saber art's hidden mystic skill, and Lei Ming seeking his own death, Yang Dingtian created such a shocking scene. It frightened everyone present, including Xiang Beila. After everything was over, Yang Dingtian gently flicked his sleeves in front of everyone's shocked eyes. Yang Dingtian said, "Lei Ming said that I used Patriarch Zhuri's life to threaten Princess Xiang to give up her virginity. This matter isn't true. Xiang, prove it to everyone." Xiang's face blushed slightly. She then pulled up her sleeves and revealed a red mole on her arm. This represented that she was still a virgin. Subsequently, Yang Dingtian said, "Once again I swear that I won't have any intention to taint the Foxman race's patriarch. After curing Patriarch Zhuri, I will immediately leave the Foxman race and will not force Princess Xiangxiang Bela to marry me. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's faces were filled with shame. Master Na Lu had done the Foxman race such a huge favor. Previously, under Lei Ming's instigation, the Foxman race had actually started to doubt him. At this time, Grand Master Na Lu's noble character and unquestionable integrity made them even more ashamed. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't mention that Lei Ming had colluded with the enemy, tried to frame Day by Day Bella, and tried to usurp the position of the clan leader. It was against his demeanor as an expert, so he could let the others imagine it for themselves, or let Princess Xiangxiang say it. Senior Brother Miju, you have already helped the Foxman race to clean up their sect. Can I leave now? Galu suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian quickly bowed and said, Senior Brother Yin, what are you saying? The reason why I asked you to stay is because you are the only human that I have met in the vast Dongli Prairie. I have a lot of things that I want to talk to you about. I just want to befriend you. I don't have any other intentions. High Priest Galu smiled and said, I also want to get closer to Senior Brother Miju. However, it's inconvenient here. I have built a temporary thatched hut at the Sun and Moon Lake at the southeastern border of the Foxman race's territory. During this period of time, I will travel around the surrounding mountains and rivers and collect some materials. If Senior Brother Miju is interested, I will welcome you at any time. Yang Dingtian said, I will definitely pay you a visit. At this moment, Yang Dingtian finally felt relieved. Fortunately, Galu didn't have the intention to turn hostile. Otherwise, no one would be able to survive. After everyone left, only Yang Dingtian, Xiangxiang Bella, and Day by Day Bella were left in the room. Great Master Na Lu, jury once again thanks you for saving my life. Furthermore, I would like to express my deep apologies for my previous suspicions. Day by Day Bella bowed deeply. Patriarch, you can't, Yang Dingtian quickly said. Just now, Xiangxiang had only told her father about Lei Ming's scheme. As for Yang Dingtian's true identity, she didn't have the time to tell him. Furthermore, she didn't obtain Yang Dingtian's consent. Therefore, Day by Day Bella still didn't know about it. She had always thought that Na Lu was Miju Tuchuo from the Netherworld Sea. Yang Dingtian quickly took off his cloak and pulled off his mask, revealing his true face. Patriarch, please don't make me feel unworthy. Yang Dingtian quickly returned the greeting and said, Xiangxiang and I are good friends. Therefore, you are also my elder. I wouldn't dare to deceive you. I'm not Miju Tuchuo from the Netherworld Sea. I'm that Shenlang that you met before. Of course, Shenlang isn't my true identity. My true identity is Yang Dingtian from the Cloud Heaven City. At this moment, there was a reason why Yang Dingtian revealed his identity. Firstly, the fact that Shenlang was Yang Dingtian had already been exposed. Since he wanted to reveal his identity as Shenlang, he might as well reveal it to the end. It's you? Day by Day Bella said in disbelief. When did you have such a divine ability? You're Yang Dingtian? Day by Day Bella had met Shenlang twice. The first time, he was very cold and unpleasant. The second time was when he was fighting Qin Huaiyu and the other two. Yang Dingtian wasn't willing to harm him, so Day by Day Bella was grateful to him. However, she didn't know that this person was actually Yang Dingtian. You've heard of my name? Yang Dingtian said in surprise. Of course. Day by Day Bella said, I'm close to humans, so I've always been paying attention to the matters of the human continent. Half a year ago, I heard your name many times. It's you, Yang Dingtian. At that time, I guessed that your future cultivation would be second only to Dongfang Bingling. You wouldn't be inferior to Qin Huaiyu and the other young experts. Following that, Day by Day Bella said, But I really didn't expect that you would be even more outstanding than I imagined. Regardless of whether it's the method you used to save people or the improvement of your cultivation, it's completely unpredictable. Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly. I'll pretend to be mysterious in front of others, but I have to speak the truth in front of you. Actually, the reason I was able to save you wasn't because I had any methods. I don't know any healing techniques at all. It's because I have an extremely precious pill that can bring the dead back to life. I obtained it in the secret realm. It was precisely this pill that brought you back to life. Shuri Bela was immediately emotionally moved. How many medicinal pellets did you obtain in the secret realm? You actually used one of them on me, a complete stranger. That's a genuine treasure of the heavens and earth, Yang Dingtian said. There were a total of 3 pills. I used the first one on an injured old man. The second one was used on you. The third one was prepared for my wife. After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, day by day Bella bowed deeply again and said, There were a total of 3 pills, but you actually used all of them on someone else. I've never seen such a magnanimous person before. I've always felt close to humans, but I was filled with disappointment when I met Qin Huayu and the others. Now that I've finally met a righteous and noble person, my view of the world has been redeemed, Yang Dingtian said. I don't dare to accept your praise. Xiang is my good friend, and as a member of the half-human race who is close to humans, you're extremely important in my heart. It's only right that I save you. Xiang finally couldn't help but ask. Big Brother Shenlang, the method you used to kill Lei Ming was too mysterious and powerful. What exactly happened? Yang Dingtian said. It's just a cheap trick. It looked like I casually waved my iron rod. In reality, this iron rod is my treasured sword. It's completely a divine weapon. Furthermore, that casual wave of my hand was the strongest move of a mystic skill that I learned. It was a fatal blow that I used all my strength to. If Lei Ming was focused on defending, he wouldn't have died. However, he just couldn't wait to attack me. Finally, I took advantage of it and burned him to death. Nephew Yang, did you obtain the million spirit demon flame? Day by day Bella suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian should have been shocked, but he didn't show it. Instead, he nodded naturally and said, That's right. This matter was very unexpected. The one that Yan Bieqing devoured was only a void flame. The real million spirit demon flame was born after the Yin Yang mountain disappeared. Furthermore, that million spirit demon flame chose its master. In fact, I was also very surprised to obtain this mystic flame. Even though I had sacrificed the most for this mystic flame. This is really heaven's will. From now on, you're destined to become the strongest person in this world. Day by day Bella said, What about Grand Elder Ba Bai? She's already dead. Her son is also dead. Yang Dingtian said. However, I didn't kill them. I know. Her cultivation is much higher than yours. She must have died because of her own fault. Day by day Bella said. Furthermore, my feelings towards her are very complicated. I don't feel much regret towards her death. As for how she died, I don't want to know the answer. Day by day Bella then stared at Yang Dingtian. If it's not unexpected, you will become the leader of the human race in the future. At least, you will be one of the leaders. What do you think of the half-human race? At this moment, day by day Bella's expression was very solemn. It could be said that this was the question that he was most concerned about. It was also the biggest philosophy of his life. He didn't feel much about the Foxman race's dominance. His life philosophy was to find a way to coexist with the human race. Previously, Yang Dingtian had represented the Northwest Qin city to negotiate an alliance with him, but he had coldly rejected him. In fact, day by day Bella attached more importance to the alliance with the human race than anyone else. Of course, it was importance, not urgency. Yang Dingtian said solemnly, My strategic philosophy is very clear. That is to integrate the half-human race and the human race. In the end, we will completely eliminate the gap between the half-human race and the human race. Otherwise, there will be an unprecedented large-scale war between the half-human race and the human race. It will bring about extremely terrifying consequences to the entire world. Right now, the mainstream of human society is the conflict between the Tiando League and the evil ways. Once this conflict is completely resolved, then, the conflict between the half-human race and the human race will become the main conflict in the chaotic world. Furthermore, this conflict will be even more obvious and the war will be even more tragic. As soon as he said this, day by day Bella's body trembled. How do we integrate? This will eliminate the gap between the half-human race and the human race. Intermarriage, Yang Dingtian said. Furthermore, we will completely eliminate the violent and murderous half-human race. We will completely return the violent and barbaric half-human race to the ranks of demonic beasts. The human race will choose the intelligent and gentle half-human race to marry and intermarry. After a few hundred years or even longer, the human race and the half-human race will completely integrate. After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, day by day Bella's breathing suddenly became heavy. That's good. If one day you become the leader of the Tiando League, how do you plan to deal with the internal affairs of the human race? Eliminate the evil ways, eliminate the Tiando League, eliminate the martial arts as a leader, and let the entire world enter a national system. Liberate the majority and let them enter the production and construction sector. Let the majority give up on practicing martial arts and form a completely different civilization. Yang Dingtian said. Of course, this goal is too big and too far away. Perhaps it won't be achieved in a few hundred years or even 1,000 years. However, this matter must be done. Otherwise, the entire chaotic world will be completely destroyed. I can faintly feel that the great cataclysm of the ancient times happened because the martial arts had developed to the extreme. The entire chaotic world was unable to withstand the energy demands of countless powerful martial artists, so the great cataclysm occurred. The entire world was turned upside down. Whether it was the human race or the half-human race, the entire chaotic world was almost destroyed. I think that the chaotic world was once a test for us. If we don't wake up and continue to crazily extract huge amounts of energy, the great cataclysm will come again one day. And this time, it will be a complete annihilation. After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, day by day Bella was unable to wake up for a long time. After a long time, he bowed deeply towards Yang Dingtian. Now, I finally know what it means to have great ambitions. I finally know what it means to have lofty aspirations. Compared to your ideals, what Qin Hua Chou, what Xu Qin Zhu, they are just frogs at the bottom of a well. In fact, more than 10 years ago, I had almost given up on the pursuit of martial arts. I wandered the world and thought about many things, but I still couldn't figure it out, especially regarding the great cataclysm of the ancient times. Now that you have enlightened me, it is like a ray of light in the darkness. In an instant, I understood many things and was enlightened. Following that, day by day Bella said, Then, how do you plan to realize your ideals? Become stronger, become stronger, become stronger. Yang Dingtian said. Use violence to curb violence, and become the absolute number one in the world. When I become so strong that Zhu Qin Zhu, Qin Wan Chou, Duge Xiao, and the others can't even defeat a finger of mine, that will be the time for me to realize my ideals. Instantly, day by day Bella was deeply shocked again. After a long time, he slowly said, Previously, when I heard the name Yang Dingtian, I always thought that your ideals were to defeat Dongfang Bingling, kill Zhu Qin Zhu, revitalize Cloud Sky City, and take back the position of Yinyang School's headmaster. Now, it seems that this is completely the ambition of a sparrow trying to catch a swan. What you said was once my ideals. However, when I saw the ancient mystic realm, I realized that the entire mystic realm was huge and majestic. It was completely impossible for the current human strength to complete it. Moreover, there were so many mysterious secret manuals left behind by the ancient civilization. Therefore, I thought that if I achieved my goals, I would defeat Dongfang Bingling, I would kill Zhu Qin Zhu, and I would take back the position of Yinyang School's headmaster. After that, what else could I pursue? So what if I was strong? Could I be compared to those ancient powerhouses? Moreover, even if the ancient powerhouses were strong, they still couldn't stop the great cataclysm from happening. What's the point of being strong? Yang Dingtian said. Therefore, after leaving the mystic realm, I had the idea of using violence to curb violence, and weakening the martial arts civilization. Of course, all of these can only be discussed after I am truly strong. Otherwise, everything is just empty talk. Day by day Bella looked at Yang Dingtian for a long time. Then she stretched out her hand and said, "Many people laugh at me for being a ridiculous idealist. Now I, this laughable idealist, am willing to form an alliance with you, Yang Dingtian. When you are strong enough, my entire Foxman race will stand behind you and become a force that can realize your ideals and ambitions." Yang Dingtian was slightly startled at first. Then, he stretched out his hand and shook Day by Day Bella's hand. Day by Day Bella said, "Unfortunately, I can only represent myself and form an alliance with you. I can't represent the entire Foxman race. If you want the entire Foxman race to form an alliance with you, you have to be at least at the Grand Master level. The half-human race respects the strong even more." "I understand," Yang Dingtian said. Then Day by Day Bella said, "Then, why did you come to the Foxman race this time? Did you specially come to save me?" Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "I only found out about your injuries after coming to the Foxman race. I came this time to ask for your help. Speak, as long as I can do it." Day by Day Bella said. Yang Dingtian carried Dongfang Bingling and said, "I want to save this woman. Her cultivation is very strong and her body is very healthy. However, because she has been cultivating in a silent state for too long, she couldn't wake up in time. Therefore, her consciousness stopped, and she can't wake up at all. Therefore, I need someone with extremely strong mental power to awaken the weakest signal in the depths of her consciousness. I need someone who can completely activate her consciousness and wake her up." "Who is she? Your lover?" Before Day by Day Bella said anything, Xiang Xiang hurriedly asked. The expression in her beautiful eyes was slightly complicated. "No, strictly speaking, she's my enemy." Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment and said, "Actually, she's Dongfang Bingling." After saying her name, Day by Day Bella wasn't too surprised. In fact, he had already guessed it. Moreover, when he was fighting with Qin Huayu, he knew that Dongfang Bingling was also under the Central Lake. "Mental Power Master, an extremely strong mental power master?" Day by Day Bella asked. "Yes, only an extremely strong mental power master can save Dongfang Bingling," Yang Dingtian said. "There's such a person," Day by Day Bella said. "He's the spiritual leader of the entire Dongli grassland. He has a supreme position in the entire half-human race. In the hearts of most half-human race members, he's almost a god." Chapter 282. Did you discover anything when you went to the burial ground? The weeds there have grown very tall. Those are blood thorns. They only grow 3 inches in a year, but now they are more than 10 feet long. In other words, the Dongli grassland has not had a large-scale war for almost 100 years. 100 years ago, there would be a war between the half-human race and the half-human race every 10 years. In the past 100 years, the total population of the half-human race has increased by almost 10 times. All of this is due to the spiritual leader. Why? Because he is very powerful? Yang Dingtian asked. No, it is because he is very noble and just. In the past 100 years, in the hearts of the majority of the half-human race, he has become sacred and inviolable. He has become the totem of faith for countless half-human race. Day by Day Bella said. Yang Dingtian was shocked. He did not expect that there would be such a person in the Dongli grassland. In the human continent there was a person who had the same status as him. That was the sect leader of the hidden sect. Although he had not appeared in the past 200 years, he had always been the undisputed leader of the human race. What is his name? Yang Dingtian asked. I don't know what his name is, but everyone calls him the Saint. No one has seen his appearance. No one even knows if he is a man or a woman, or what race he is. 8 years ago, during the half-human race leader conference, I only heard his voice. It was not even considered a voice. Because what he wants to say is in your heart and not in your ears. Therefore, whatever voice you imagine it to be, it will be that voice. Day by Day Bella said. Therefore, if there is a person who can use spiritual power to awaken the Dongfang Bingling, then I think it should be the saint, the spiritual leader of the Dongli grassland. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt that the saint was extremely mysterious and powerful. Then where does he live? Yang Dingtian asked. In the extreme north of the Dongli grassland, the celestial Red Sea, also known as the land of the Dead Sea. His temple floats on the surface of the sea and flows with the waves. His temple can appear anywhere in the Dead Sea. Even if we find its temple, it might not be inside. Day by day, Bella said, countless worshippers have traveled thousands of miles to the Dead Sea in search of it. Many people have entered its temple, but none of them have seen it. Therefore, it will only appear when it wants to. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. This saint was too mysterious. If he really went to the Dead Sea to look for him, he had no idea what would happen. But if he didn't go, the saint seemed to be the only one who could save Dongfang Bingling. Then Yang Dingtian thought of his master, Dongfang Minmi. He couldn't help but ask. Let's say an incomplete divine sense is gradually dying. Then can he save it so that this consciousness can continue to exist? This was a knot in Yang Dingtian's heart. According to his master, his divine sense could at most survive in Yang Dingtian's mind for a few years. After being attacked by the brutal sword spirit, the time it could survive was even shorter. Yang Dingtian really didn't want his master's divine sense to be completely destroyed. But in fact, he had been communicating with his master less and less recently. This was because every time they communicated, he would use up his little spiritual energy. I think, in the spiritual realm, it should be almost omnipotent. Day by day, Bella said. I'll leave tomorrow and go to the Dead Sea to look for the saint's temple. Yang Dingtian decided. Day by day, Bella said. If you want to go, of course I can't stop you. But I just want to say, don't get your hopes up. Also, it's too mysterious and too powerful. It's so mysterious that it's dangerous. After all, it's the spiritual leader of the half-human race. That's all I can say. Yang Dingtian said. I know. Thank you for telling me. Day by day, Bella said. Then you should rest. I'm going to cultivate my xianqi. Tomorrow, you'll be heading to the Dead Sea. I'll prepare everything for you. Before leaving, Xiang suddenly said, Brother Shenlang, you obviously knew that Galu was in cahoots with Lei Ming. Why did you kill Lei Ming but let Galu go? She finally couldn't help but ask. Yang Dingtian said, Because he's very powerful. Before your father fully recovers, none of us are his match. Oh, I see. Xiang said. Then, after day by day Bella left, Xiang still didn't leave. Instead, she carefully made a bed for Yang Dingtian and prepared a clean set of clothes. After tidying everything up, she still didn't want to leave. It was as if she wanted to say something but didn't know what to say. Suddenly, her gaze landed on the unconscious Dongfang Bingling. Seeing that her dress was suddenly wet, she couldn't help but exclaim, She's... Yang Dingtian nodded and said helplessly, Yes. Then, he poured a basin of water and was about to wash Dongfang Bingling and change her clothes. Xiang Bella blushed and said, Brother Shen, do you want me to help her wash and change her clothes? I'm a woman. After all, it's more convenient for me. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said helplessly, Of course it's more convenient for you. But let me do it. Xiang Bella said with a red face. Why? Because she's very beautiful. Do you want to get close to her? She obviously knew that she shouldn't say that, but she still couldn't help but say it. Yang Dingtian said, The reason why I don't let you do it is because I'm afraid that after she wakes up and finds out, she will run over to kill you. This woman is extremely proud. This kind of thing is a great humiliation to her. If she knew about it, her first thought would be to kill everyone who knew about it and participated in this matter. Oh, then you do it. Xiang Bella ran out with a red face. Thus Yang Dingtian bitterly helped Dongfang Bingling clean and change her clothes again. Then, he washed her dress and dried it with his mystic qi. Next, he fed her a life-sustaining elixir and fed her water. After doing all this, he still had to use his hands to massage every inch of her muscles. Because of the lack of movement, Yang Dingtian was worried that her muscles would atrophy. Of course, since her mystic chi was so strong, such a thing might not happen. But just in case, Yang Dingtian still insisted on massaging her body every day. Of course, this had nothing to do with taking advantage of her. After the massage, Yang Dingtian placed her on the bed and lay down beside her. He wasn't trying to take advantage of her at all. Instead, he was trying to protect her in case she was in danger. In fact, when they slept side by side, Yang Dingtian didn't even touch her body, let alone take advantage of her. On the morning of the next day, Yang Dingtian disguised himself as High Priest Na Lu and rode on the mount that Juri Bela had prepared. He left his castle and headed north towards the Dead Sea to search for the spiritual leader of the East Parting Grassland, that legendary saint. Day by day Bela and Xiang came to send him off. They sent him further and further away until they were out of the Foxman tribe's territory. The mount that day by day Bela gave him was very strong and fast. It could ride 1,000 miles in a day without much stress. It was much stronger than a human's horse. Okay, I can only send you here. Day by day Bela said. Thank you for sending me off. You can go back. Yang Dingtian said. It's not convenient for me to say much about Yin Tianchong's conspiracy. But I feel that under the current situation, it's better to pretend that we don't know anything and not have a direct conflict with Yin Tianchong's forces. We just have to be careful. Don't worry, I know. Day by day Bela smiled. Then, he turned around and urged his mount to leave. Xiang Bela didn't leave. Instead, she took a few steps forward and got down from her mount. Brother Shin, I have a few words to say to you. Xiang waved at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian also got down from his mount. Xiang came in front of Yang Dingtian and said, My father wants me to tell you that the hybrid of the half-human race and the human race will start from the two of us. If you come back from the Dead Sea, regardless of whether you can save Dongfang Bingling or not, you have to make a trip to my house before you return to the human continent. After she finished speaking, Xiang jumped back onto her mount and quickly changed the direction, chasing after her father. Looking at Xiang's beautiful figure, Yang Dingtian smiled helplessly. Then, he jumped onto his mount and hugged Dongfang Bingling to his chest. Then, he quickly galloped towards the Dead Sea in the north. For the following days, Yang Dingtian would travel 1,000 miles every day. Because he was dressed as a high priest, he didn't encounter any trouble even though he passed through many half-human races' territories. This was because in the Dongli grassland, a high priest was equivalent to a follower of a saint. No matter which race they were from, no one would offend them. They would even be respected and worshipped by many other races. Along the way, Yang Dingtian understood more about this legendary saint. The shock in his heart grew bigger and bigger. This omnipotent spiritual leader became more and more mysterious and powerful in his eyes. Perhaps the strength of this saint had already surpassed any known expert in the human continent. He also fully understood that this saint was like a god in the Dongli grassland. The celestial Red Sea was about 8,000 miles away from the Foxman race's territory. Yang Dingtian spent 8 days to complete the 8,000 miles journey. In these 8 days, Yang Dingtian had to wash Dongfang Bingling's body 3 times a day and change her clothes 3 times a day. He fed her pills twice, gave her water 5 times and massaged her once. It could be said that Yang Dingtian had never taken care of someone so carefully before. Even for Yan, he had never done it before. But Dongfang Bingling, who was clearly his enemy, had to take care of her in every possible way, as if she was a baby. Therefore, Yang Dingtian felt that this was really a trick of fate. On the 9th day, Yang Dingtian finally arrived at his destination, the celestial Red Sea. Looking at the scenery in front of him, Yang Dingtian was completely shocked. Please. Chapter 283. This can no longer be said to be an uncanny workmanship. It is completely a miracle of the heavens. Previously, he and Qin Wanchou said 200 miles of Dead Sea. He was wrong, it is 1,000 miles of Dead Sea. In front of his eyes, it is as if he has reached the end of the world. This 10,000 meters tall, several thousand miles long cliff is like a wall at the end of the world. It gives people a strong feeling that on the other side of this 10,000 meters tall cliff is an endless void. Of course, Yang Dingtian knows that behind this 1,000 miles tall cliff is not a void, but the vast Dead Sea. This kind of magnificent scene, no exquisite scene on earth can compare to it. Even if it is a movie, you will not see this kind of scene. Seeing this kind of scene, anyone will have an impulse to worship, anyone will feel that they are insignificant. And that legendary saint lived on the Dead Sea, 10,000 meters above the sea. This in itself has enveloped its body with a layer of incomparably mysterious and powerful radiance. It gives people a strong feeling that only a god will live here. Yang Dingtian dismounts and hugs Dongfang Bingling's delicate body. He summons out the void spirit profound wings and wants to fly up to this 10,000 meters high altitude. But immediately after, an astonishing thing happens. He is unable to fly, the void spirit profound wings are of no use. Thus, Yang Dingtian uses his flying profound skill, but it is still useless. He is completely unable to fly here. Thus, Yang Dingtian only has one way to go up, and that is to climb up. Carrying Dongfang Bingling, he climbs up along this 10,000 meters tall cliff. Yang Dingtian ties Dongfang Bingling on his back and climbs up the cliff. Another astonishing thing happens. His profound chi energy seems to have completely disappeared. Originally, even if he is unable to fly, with Yang Dingtian's cultivation, it is also a simple matter to climb 10,000 meters from the cliff. But now, all the profound chi energy in his body seems to have disappeared. The only thing Yang Dingtian has is a stronger body compared to when he was on Earth, and a bit more strength. Therefore, Yang Dingtian carried Dongfang Bingling on his back and climbed up with difficulty. The 10,000-meter high cliff was as smooth as a mirror. There was no place to borrow strength from. Therefore, Yang Dingtian could only take out Ah Chao's youngling sword and Night Owl huge sword, stabbing them into the smooth cliff and climbing up in a crisscross manner. Just like that, Yang Dingtian used his own strength to climb up bit by bit. When he climbed a few thousand meters, the wind was already very, very strong, as if it could blow him down at any time. If he, who had lost his profound chi, were to fall down, he would probably be smashed to pieces. Moreover, Yang Dingtian also discovered that there was no use in taking any pills here. It would not bring about any recovery. As a result, the 10,000-meter high cliff became extremely dangerous for Yang Dingtian. Just like that, Yang Dingtian climbed up foot by foot. His strength was exhausted, his body was worn out, and he was hungry and cold. Most importantly, the 10,000-meter high cliff seemed to have no end. No matter how long he climbed, when he looked up, he still could not see the end. Just like that, Yang Dingtian carried Dongfang Bingling on his back, and continued to climb. 3 hours. 5 hours. 10 hours. 1 day. 2 days. 3 days. On the 4th day, Yang Dingtian's entire body was dry and cracked. His energy was exhausted. Regardless of physical strength, mental strength, or even willpower, they had all reached their limits. He was in a state of numbness, and was in the most dangerous state. He could break into pieces at any time. In here, it was not only his profound chi cultivation, but also his mental strength and willpower. Yang Dingtian had become an ordinary person. So, he had completely reached his limit. He could not even climb up 1 foot. Just as Yang Dingtian was about to close his eyes and let go of his hand, Yang Dingtian suddenly opened his eyes. He inadvertently raised his head. There was no longer an endless cliff blocking his view. He had climbed to the end. He had climbed to the top. He had finally reached the celestial Red Sea. He had finally reached the place where the saints resided. Instantly, Yang Dingtian cried tears of joy. Then, Yang Dingtian raised his eyes to look at the Death Sea in the sky. He was instantly stunned. What entered his eyes was a vast and boundless sea. It was boundless and endless. This was the celestial Red Sea that was 10,000 meters above sea level. Previously, When Yang Dingtian wanted to go to the Temple of Blood, he had passed through a few hundred miles of the Quaking Soul River. But this Death Sea was different from the Quaking Soul River. Firstly, this Death Sea was vast and boundless. Secondly, although the Death Sea was also red in color, the Death Sea was red in color. But the Quaking Soul River was bright red, as if it was fresh blood that had just flowed out. Whereas the Death Sea was dark red, blackish red, as if it was blood that had flowed out after a long time of death. Although it was red, it looked almost black. Lastly, the Quaking Soul River had waves, and the water surface would dance with the wind. But the Death Sea was completely still. There was no wind, no waves, and no movement of the water. It was as if the entire sea water was not liquid, but solid. The end of the Quaking Soul River was the Temple of Blood, and the Death Sea in front of him was strange and majestic, far surpassing the Quaking Soul River. But what exactly was at the end of the Death Sea? In short, the Death Sea was not only a forbidden zone for life, but also a forbidden zone for power and movement. After climbing to the top of the Death Sea, Yang Dingtian woke up from this strange and majestic scene after a long time. Then, he hurriedly searched for traces of the temple on the surface of the sea. But he was disappointed. As far as his eyes could see, he did not see any traces of the temple. What entered his eyes was a boundless sea of red. Yang Dingtian tried to circulate his mystic qi and use his flying technique to soar into the sky, intending to search for traces of the temple. But he was disappointed again. He was still unable to condense any mystic qi, so naturally, he could not use his flying technique. Of course, he could not summon the void spirit mystic wings either. Yang Dingtian was really shocked. This place was simply too strange. When he climbed up the cliff of 10,000 meters, he was unable to condense any mystic qi. When he reached the top and arrived at the Death Sea, he was still unable to condense any mystic qi. Next, Yang Dingtian was faced with a choice. Or he could jump into the Death Sea and use the most primitive method of swimming to search for traces of the temple. The second choice was to sit here and not move, waiting for the temple to float over. From the looks of it, the first choice was much more active. But after thinking about it for a moment, relying solely on his physical strength to swim in the sea to search for the temple was actually harder than finding a needle in a haystack. Because this saint's temple was completely floating, if Yang Dingtian relied on swimming to search for it, the probability of missing the temple was almost 100%. And sitting in one place and waiting for the temple to float over, although the chances were very slim, the probability was much higher than the first choice. And most importantly, Yang Dingtian had climbed up the cliff of 10,000 meters, and his physical strength was already exhausted to the extreme. Relying on his physical strength to swim across the entire Death Sea was completely a fool's dream. Thus, Yang Dingtian sat cross-legged on the stone wall at the edge of the Death Sea, and let Dongfang Bingling lie on his lap, quietly waiting for the temple to float over. The first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, Yang Dingtian discovered a strange thing, and that was that after coming to the Death Sea, not only did his celestial qi disappear, even the pills were useless. He actually started to become hungry and weak. Originally, the pills in the space ring were filled with miraculous effects. As long as he ate one pill, he would be able to maintain his energy for half a month. But now, eating one pill was simply a drop in the ocean, and had no effect at all, completely unable to replenish the energy in his body. Yang Dingtian was like an ordinary person, gradually becoming weak. Of course, it was fortunate that for the sake of Dongfang Bingling, Yang Dingtian had put a lot of water in the space ring, or else he would really die of dehydration. But what was even stranger was, these pills had lost their effect on Yang Dingtian, but seemed to still be effective on Dongfang Bingling. The most beautiful woman in the world still took one pill every 3 days, and her face was still rosy, looking very healthy. Of course, she still drank water 3 times a day, and urinated 3 times a day. So, Yang Dingtian still took care of her like he was taking care of a baby. But now, water was very precious, and Yang Dingtian was unable to use his celestial qi to dry his clothes, so Yang Dingtian could not let her wet her pants and skirt. After grasping her physiological pattern, he had to take care of her on time every day. So, Dongfang Bingling's treatment developed from a 1 or 2-year-old baby to a 2 or 3-year-old baby. Of course, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that Yang Dingtian was getting weaker and weaker, and weaker and weaker. In the end, he did not even have the strength to take care of Dongfang Bingling. Time passed like this, day by day. Perhaps it was 10 days, or perhaps it was half a month. In any case, a very long time had passed. Yang Dingtian was already extremely weak, and the water was about to run out. Once there was no water, Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling would die here. Of course, there was a lot of water in the Dead Sea here, but this water could not be drunk. After the water was completely drunk, if the saint's temple did not appear, then Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling would definitely die here. Because, after Yang Dingtian fainted, he could not feed Dongfang Bingling any medicine or water. Moreover, Yang Dingtian did not have the strength to climb down the 10,000-meter cliff at this time. Finally, after giving Dongfang Bingling the last drop of water to drink and helping her wash and wipe her body for the last time, Yang Dingtian directly fainted and fell to the ground, unconscious. Hunger, weakness, and dehydration had completely defeated him. At the same time, the sky gradually darkened, and it would stay dark. In fact, Yang Dingtian did not fully notice before that during the time he was by the Red Sea, the sky had always been bright. Yes, the sun could not be seen in the sky, but it was always bright. And under the 10,000-meter Red Sea, night and day alternated. Here, the sky was always bright. When Yang Dingtian fainted, the sky finally darkened. Then, Yang Dingtian remained unconscious. The sky was always dark. Previously it was the polar sun, and there was no night. Then now, it was the polar night, and there was no day. He did not know how long he had been unconscious, but it also seemed like he had died. In a daze, in the midst of chaos, Yang Dingtian felt that he had opened his eyes, but it also seemed like a dream. He seemed to feel a lonely temple floating over from the distant sea. Although it was night, he could still feel the temple floating over. Note, brothers, please give me a few monthly votes. Chapter 284. Yang Dingtian was still unconscious and his eyes were tightly shut. However, he could still clearly feel that the temple was drifting over from the sea, getting closer and closer. Finally, the temple stopped about 10 meters away from Yang Dingtian. The temple door slowly opened and a figure slowly walked out, accompanied by the light on her body. She was wearing a snow-white dress and had long silver hair. Her entire body was emitting a soft and bright light. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt a burst of warmth all over his body. The light on her body seemed to tear through the darkness and also drive away the coldness on Yang Dingtian's body. Yang Dingtian could not see her face, only the curves of her body. These were the most beautiful and gentle curves. Although he could not see her face, he could still feel that it should be the most beautiful and elegant face. If there were angels in this world, then the angels should look like this woman in front of him. If there were fairies in this world, then the fairies should look like this woman in front of him. Of course, this fairy or angel should not be completely young. Although they were beautiful beyond compare, their faces still carried the traces of time. Although they could live forever, age and time would make them mature and tolerant. The woman in front of him was such a mature, elegant, noble, and gentle angel-like woman. She walked to Yang Dingtian's side and bent down to pick him and Dongfang Bingling up. Her arms were very soft, just like the clouds. Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling's bodies also seemed very light in her hands, just like the clouds. She hugged the two bodies, turned around, and slowly walked back into her temple. Although they were very close, Yang Dingtian still could not see her face clearly. He could only see a pair of beautiful jade feet. She was not wearing shoes and was walking on the Black and Red Sea. She carried Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling into the temple. The temple was not big, but it was filled with dozens of very large statues. They looked like various Buddha statues, but upon closer inspection, They were not Buddha statues. In the middle of the temple, there were several praying mats. She placed Yang Dingtian on the futon, took a bottle of water, and gently fed Yang Dingtian. It didn't seem to be water. It was a bit like wine because it was warm and had a sweet taste when it entered the stomach. In short, it was very sweet. After Yang Dingtian drank less than half of the pot, his physical strength and senses seemed to gradually recover. Now that he could move his body, he forced his eyes open. Everything he saw before him was exactly the same as what he had felt before. The woman smiled at Yang Dingtian and said, "Fortunately, my temple drifted here. Otherwise, I would have created another sin." This woman's voice was as gentle as her face, so gentle that it was extremely moving. "Are you a saint?" Yang Dingtian asked. "That's what the people below call me," the woman said. "You can also call me Tantai." Yang Dingtian asked. "Then, can you wake up the woman next to me?" Tantai asked. "What's wrong with her?" Yang Dingtian said. "She has been in a dormant state for too long and didn't wake up in time, causing her divine sense to stop. She can't wake up, but her body is very healthy and has a strong cultivation base." Tantai walked to Dongfang Bingling's side. Her beautiful eyes couldn't help but glance at her skirt and found a wet spot on it. Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly, "I fainted before, so I can't take care of her." Then Yang Dingtian said, "She has been in a dormant state for more than half a year. Can you still wake her up?" "Let me see," Tantai said, then gently put her hand on Dongfang Bingling's head, and slowly closed her beautiful eyes as if to sense her spirit. After a few minutes, Tantai opened her beautiful eyes and said, "Her divine sense hasn't stopped, but has been operating, but it's operating in the depths of her spirit." Yang Dingtian said happily, "Then can you wake her up?" Tantai said, "It's a little troublesome. Although her divine sense hasn't stopped, she's trapped in an extremely deep dream and can't extricate herself. Although she knows everything she experienced in reality, she thinks it's just a dream. So, she's now in a dream that's reversed from reality. And recently, her experience in reality is a little unbearable, so she's even more unwilling to wake up." "What?" Yang Dingtian said in surprise. "She knows everything that happened in reality recently?" Tantai said. "Of course, just like when you're dreaming, very clear and very deep." Yang Dingtian said. "Then what is she doing in the deep dream now?" Tantai said. "What was she doing before she entered the dormant state?" "She was cultivating," Yang Dingtian said. Tantai said. "She's cultivating in the dream now. And it's very fast, so she's unwilling to wake up at all." "Then what should we do?" Yang Dingtian said. "Your spiritual power is so strong, can you enter the depths of her spirit and wake her up?" Tantai said. "I can enter her dream, but I can't wake her up." "Why?" Yang Dingtian said. Tantai said. "Because when my spiritual power enters her dream, she'll think that everything is happening in reality. No matter what I say, she'll think that I'm meeting her in reality. Can you understand my explanation?" Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "I can understand. After your spiritual power enters her dream, even if you tell her that she's in a dream and ask her to wake up quickly, she'll think that you're lying and have ulterior motives." "That's right," Tantai said. "For example, if someone suddenly tells you that everything you've experienced in the past few years is fake, that it's all a dream, would you believe it?" Yang Dingtian shook his head. Of course he wouldn't believe it. Yes, no one is willing to believe it. This was indeed the case. Even omnipotence in the dream was limited to a certain range, or even completely blurry. Then, he seemed to think of something in his mind. He hurriedly said, "Fairy Tantai, you said that as long as it's completely unrealistic and doesn't exist in this world, it can wake her up?" "Yes," Tantai said. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly jumped. This condition was impossible for anyone else in this world. But to Yang Dingtian, it was as easy as flipping his hand. Suddenly Yang Dingtian said, "Fairy Tanai, I may have a way. Please let me enter her dream immediately." Tanai frowned. "Are you sure you want to enter? It'll be very dangerous." Yang Dingtian couldn't help but ask, What's the danger? Tantai said. Because your spirit has completely entered the depths of her divine sense. Unless you can wake her up, you'll never wake up. What? Yang Dingtian suddenly exclaimed. The depths of everyone's divine sense are like a prison. Once your spirit enters, unless she wakes up and the world she built collapses and is destroyed, your spirit will be trapped inside forever. Tantai said. And the most dangerous thing is that if she kills you in the dream, then you'll never wake up. Yang Dingtian almost exclaimed again. The consequences were too frightening. If he couldn't wake Dongfang Bingling up, he would never wake up. If he was killed by her, he would never wake up. That was no different from being completely dead. Dongfang Bingling was a very strong-willed person. It was difficult to persuade her. Of course, Yang Dingtian was still very confident in waking her up. It was impossible for others to fully display the scenes and things that didn't exist in this world in the dream, but it was really easy for Yang Dingtian. However, it was really difficult to make Dongfang Bingling not kill him. Tanhai had once said that Dongfang Bingling had a clear memory of what had happened in the real world, but she had always thought it was a dream. But the scene of her wetting her pants, and Yang Dingtian washing her butt and peeing should still be very deeply imprinted in her mind. Dongfang Bingling was so proud that such a scene was completely a great shame for her. Therefore, under her shame and anger, she might have slashed her sword the moment she saw Yang Dingtian. If he was not killed by her in reality but was killed by her in the dream, it would really be a wrongful death. Taking a deep breath, he slowly closed his eyes and expelled the distracting thoughts in his mind. Opening his eyes again, Yang Dingtian said firmly, Fairy Tantai, I've decided to enter her dream and wake her up. You've really decided? Tantai asked. I've decided, Yang Dingtian said firmly. Okay, Tantai said. Come with me. After saying that, Tanai leisurely walked to the back of the temple. Yang Dingtian followed with Dongfang Bingling in his arms. There was a back door here. Tanai gently pushed it open and walked in. Yang Dingtian followed. Inside, there was a pool. The water was very clear, like a mirror. In the water there was a bright luster. Taking a closer look, there were countless bright threads swimming in the water. That's right, they were shining threads. They were only as thin as hair, but they were 2 to 3 feet long. Countless bright threads were swimming in the water. These are remnant threads of imprint, a kind of energy life. They don't have any consciousness, but they can easily bind the spiritual consciousness between people, Tantai said. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Wasn't this the optical cable of the Earth world, used to transmit information? It was just that the optical cable was used to transmit information between computers, while the remnant threads of imprint were used to transmit spiritual information between people. Tanai suddenly asked. You're a man and a woman. Are you close to each other? I don't know, Yang Dingtian said. Why do you ask? Tantai said. Because when you enter the pool later, you have to take off all your clothes. Moreover, the remnant threads of imprint will tightly bind your bodies together. If you don't have an intimate relationship, it will cause bad consequences. Yang Dingtian immediately said. We're not intimate. We're not lovers. We're an engaged couple in name, but in reality, we see each other as enemies. Tantai's beautiful eyes immediately looked at Yang Dingtian and said, I understand. Take off your clothes. Looking at Tantai, Yang Dingtian only hesitated for a moment. Then, he took off his clothes, revealing his slender and muscular body. Although Tantai was a woman, Yang Dingtian's attitude was still more generous. In his heart, it was hard for him to treat Tantai as an ordinary woman. She had already transcended gender. Then, Yang Dingtian took off Dongfang Bingling's clothes. Pick her up and stand by the pool, Tantai said. Yes. Yang Dingtian carried Dongfang Bingling's body and stood at the edge of the pool. He could fall in at any time. Because she's in a dream but thinks it's reality, her mind doesn't actively defend. Later she'll think that everything is real. But your mind is now full of vigilance and defense. If you want to successfully enter her consciousness, you have to relax all your mental defenses and be in a completely defenseless state. Tantai said. Of course, you can't do all this on your own. But my mental power will destroy all your defenses and make you completely defenseless against me. Of course, I promise not to pry into any of your secrets. But do you trust me? If you do, I'll start the technique. I trust you, Yang Dingtian said. At the same time, Yang Dingtian said in his heart, Master, guard my consciousness. Don't let any mental power invade. Okay, Dongfang Minmi said. Then Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes and said, Fairy Tantai, you can use the technique. Okay. Tanai took a few steps forward and stood behind Yang Dingtian. She stretched out her jade hand and put it on Yang Dingtian's head. Swish! Suddenly, a ray of light shone from her jade hand and shone into Yang Dingtian's head. Suddenly, all of Yang Dingtian's mental defenses melted away in an instant like snow meeting the scorching sun. At the same time, Yang Dingtian felt incomparably comfortable. All the pressure, all the tiredness, and all the pain disappeared. His whole body was as light as a feather, as if he was about to float. His whole body, his whole spirit, was completely relaxed. He was lazy and couldn't resist the sleepiness at all. So, Yang Dingtian closed his eyes again without any defense and fell asleep. While falling asleep, Yang Dingtian hugged Dongfang Bingling and directly fell into the pool. Suddenly, countless silk imprint in the water quickly swam over and tightly wrapped Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling's bodies together. Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling were like conjoined twins, clinging to each other. It was as if every inch of their skin was breathing each other. Despite the strength of the entanglement, these countless silk imprint didn't give people the feeling of being tied up. It was as if Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling took the initiative to intertwine. All the silk imprint in the pool wrapped around the bodies of the two people, then turned into rays of light and drilled into the two people's bodies. Suddenly, the two people's bodies emitted a charming light. Of course, there was no pain or damage because these silk imprint were energy lifeforms and didn't have a physical body. The two intertwined bodies became brighter and brighter. Boom! It was as if time and space were shuttling, as if a dream was reincarnating, as if the world was changing. Yang Dingtian only felt that the scenery in front of him was constantly changing and flying, and then turned into an incomparably dazzling white light. Whoosh! Yang Dingtian thoroughly entered the depths of Dongfang Bingling's spiritual consciousness. Note, brothers, I'm begging for a few monthly votes. Please. Chapter 285. Shen Lang, have I fallen in love with you? Dongfang Bingling asked again. Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. He shook his head instinctively and said, I don't know. He really didn't know. However, he always thought that Dongfang Bingling wouldn't fall in love with anyone. That was because she didn't care about any man at all. As the number one genius in 400 years, she didn't even care about her father, Dongfang Nimi. As for Zhu Hongxue, she didn't care about him at all. This woman was extremely arrogant and domineering. Therefore, this kind of woman wouldn't fall in love with any man. That was because there was no man in the world that she could look up to and admire. However, this kind of woman would develop love out of pity. In the dream, she took care of Yang Dingtian for almost a month. She washed his body and massaged him. She took care of him as if he was a baby. For a woman, when her baby was just born, there was more of a kinship between flesh and blood. However, in the process of taking care of the baby, she would love the baby to the core. It might even be more than her own life. Therefore, Dongfang Bingling was in the same situation. Moreover, she was a woman after all. During this period of time, she often had intimate contact with Yang Dingtian. Although she didn't care about it at all, it was inevitable that her heart would change. No woman as pure as ice or as pure as jade would be able to remain indifferent to intimate contact with a man. Dongfang Bingling stared at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. Shen Lang, what about you? Do you love me? Why do you ask? Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Bingling said. I've thought about the matter between you and me for a long time. I have two choices. The first choice is that after saving you, we will immediately separate and cut off our feelings. We will never meet again and pretend that nothing happened. Yang Dingtian asked. What's the second choice? Dongfang Bingling said. The second choice is that after saving you, I will bring you back to Yinyang school and we will get married. From now on, I will be your wife, and you will be my husband. Yang Dingtian was shocked. He never thought that Dongfang Bingling would say something like that. But then, he remembered that what Dongfang Bingling said was only a choice. Then what choice would you make? Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Bingling said. The first choice is because I'm afraid that once I have a husband and have feelings for him, it will hinder my dreams. My dream is to become the first martial saint in 400 years. I want to completely break something in this world. But once we get married, I won't be able to focus all my energy on my dreams. You will become my stumbling block. To be precise, my feelings will become my stumbling block. Yang Dingtian nodded. Of course, he did not agree with Dongfang Bingling. She believed that Dongfang Bingling was indeed such a person. Dongfang Bingling said. So, I have always made the first choice. But just now, I suddenly thought of why I made such a choice. Even if I have feelings and a husband, I can still pursue my dreams. So, I made the second choice. Yang Dingtian was really shocked. Dongfang Bingling actually said that she would make the second choice. In other words, she would marry him? Shenlang, so I decided that if I am sure that I have fallen in love with you, we can marry. Of course, if you are worried that this will interfere with your life, we cannot announce this matter to the world. We will find a remote place to bow to heaven and earth and get married. Only the two of us will get married. Then, we will build a house and that house will be our home. Dongfang Bingling said. After we get married, we may not be together. We may not even see each other for many years. You will continue to wander the world, and I will pursue my dreams. So, even if we are husband and wife, it is very likely that we will never be together. You want to have a place in your heart. Yang Dingtian said. That's right. Dongfang Bingling said. All along, my first choice was to break off all ties with you after saving you. But later on, I realized that this was the stupidest choice. This would only hinder my cultivation. Feelings are like water. They cannot be blocked or suppressed. It is better to let nature take its course and let the two of us have a place in each other's hearts. We are not people of the secular world. We do not care about the long-term intimacy of our bodies. What we care about is the sustenance of our hearts. Immediately, Yang Dingtian completely understood Dongfang Bingling's meaning. Originally, she did not plan to get married. But now, because of love, she developed a strange feeling for Shenlang. In the beginning, she wanted to completely cut off her feelings. Yang Dingtian even believed that she had hesitated to kill him. As long as she could cut off her feelings, she, Dongfang Bingling, would definitely be willing to chop off Shenlang's head. But just like what she said, feelings could not be suppressed, and could not be forcefully cut off. This would instead hinder her path of cultivation. So, she might as well let nature take its course. She chose to marry Shenlang, and let her heart have a place to return to. Of course, only the two of them knew about this kind of marriage. The two of them would build their own home. But perhaps they would never live in it. After the marriage, Dongfang Bingling would continue on her cultivation path. Perhaps she would never meet Shenlang again. Of course, if there comes a day when I miss you very much, even if we are separated by thousands of miles, I will still go and see you, Dongfang Bingling said. As for the pleasure between a man and a woman, I will do my best to find a way so that even if I lose my virginity, it will not harm my cultivation. After that, you can do whatever you want to me. We can make love like other married couples. Furthermore, after I become a martial saint, we can even have a child. Furthermore, after I have completed all my dreams, we will be together forever and live the life of an ordinary married couple. Dongfang Bingling continued. Finally, Dongfang Bingling said, "Now, there is only one last thing left. Shenlang, do you love me?" Instantly, Yang Dingtian was unable to say anything. "Do you love me, Shenlang?" Dongfang Bingling said. "I already have a wife. I love her very much," Yang Dingtian said. Dongfang Bingling said, "I know. Furthermore, that woman is very attractive to men. Most importantly, she loves you very much. This kind of love surpasses the feelings I have for you by many times. However, I do not care about these things. I only want to ask you one thing. Shenlang, do you love me?" Yang Dingtian wanted to blurt out that he did not love her. He wanted to say that the person he loved was Yan Yan and Shimen Ningning. He hated Dongfang Bingling to the bone. For example, if one day he could only save one between Yan Yan and Dongfang Bingling, he would choose to save Yan Yan without hesitation, even if he had to watch Dongfang Bingling die. However, Yang Dingtian asked himself in his heart. That's right. He hated Dongfang Bingling to the bone. However, did he not feel anything for her at all? Or did he feel something deep in his bones? Hatred was the opposite of love. Perhaps there was only a piece of paper between the two. In fact, Yang Dingtian could not forget the first time he saw Dongfang Bingling. Furthermore, Dongfang Bingling appeared in his dreams many times. "Shenlang, do you love me?" Dongfang Bingling asked again. "If you love me, let's get married after we leave this place." Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, "Dongfang Bingling, I don't dare to say that I don't love you. Perhaps, I also have deep and complicated feelings for you in my heart. However, I will never, ever marry you." "Why?" Dongfang Bingling asked. "The two of us will never be together," Yang Dingtian said. "Even if the two suns fall and the two moons are destroyed, the two of us will never be together." Dongfang Bingling's expression changed slightly when she heard this. She said, "Why? You are not Yang Dingtian." Yang Dingtian was really surprised. Dongfang Bingling actually said this sentence so naturally. Previously, she kept calling him Shenlang, but Yang Dingtian still had a trace of doubt in his heart. Did Dongfang Bingling really not recognize him? Now Dongfang Bingling said that he was not Yang Dingtian so naturally. "Why did you say this?" Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Bingling said, "Because Yang Dingtian hates me to the core. I have trampled on his dignity. So when I thought that I might fall in love with you, I was once very afraid of one thing. I was afraid that you would be Yang Dingtian in disguise. So, I went to uncover your face. There was no mask, no makeup. You are the real Yang Dingtian. This face is completely real. You are not Yang Dingtian." At that time, I really heaved a sigh of relief. Yang Dingtian was stunned when he heard this. Yang Dingtian was of course wearing a human skin mask, but this was in Dongfang Bingling's dream. Dongfang Bingling did not want Shenlang to be Yang Dingtian. So, the Shenlang in the dream was naturally the real face. Of course, she could not uncover the mask. Because, before Yang Dingtian entered her consciousness, Shenlang was completely constructed by Dongfang Bingling's brain. "You don't want to marry me because of your wife?" Dongfang Bingling said. "I said before I don't care at all. You can continue to be with your wife." "It's not because of my wife," Yang Dingtian said. "It's just because the two of us can't be together." Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes flashed slightly. She said with slight annoyance, "That's strange. You are not Yang Dingtian, who hates me to the core. It's not because of your wife. Moreover, you also have feelings for me. Why can't the two of us get married? You need to give me a reason." "Reason?" Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes. Then, he stared into Dongfang Bingling's eyes and said, "The reason is that everything that is happening to you right now is fake. Everything is just a dream in the depths of your consciousness." Yang Dingtian continued, "The real reality is that after you entered the dormant state for a month, because I was also unconscious, I did not wake you up in time. When I woke up, half a year had already passed. At that time, I could not wake you up even if I stabbed you in the back. The real reality is that you, Dongfang Bingling, are completely trapped in a dream in the depths of your consciousness. Your consciousness has almost completely stopped. You are still alive and breathing. You are healthy and rosy. Even your profound chi is strong. However, you can't move at all. You are completely unconscious. You are completely in a vegetative state. Every day, I wash your body. Every day, I massage your entire body. Every day, the person who takes care of you as if you are a baby is me. Everything that is happening now is just a dream in Dongfang Bingling's mind. Note, brothers, I beg for monthly votes. Thank you all. Chapter 286. With regards to Yang Dingtian's words, Dongfang Bingling should have felt like a bolt from the blue. However, after hearing it, she only frowned slightly and said, "Is it because you have been unconscious for too long that your mind is still not clear?" Yang Dingtian ignored Dongfang Bingling's words and continued. "Also, it was me who brought the unconscious you to the Foxman race to find a way to wake you up. It was me who used the holy water to save day by day Bella. It was me who brought you to the celestial Red Sea. It was me who waited on the beach for the temple to float over. It was me who waited for Saint Tantai. Now we are in this pool. Our bodies are intertwined with each other. Countless imprint strands are entangling us, allowing my spirit to enter the depths of your consciousness. Otherwise, how could I wake up in your dream realm? I came to your dream realm to wake you up." After hearing Yang Dingtian's words, Dongfang Bingling's beautiful face sneered and said, "Yang Dingtian, I think your mind is really muddled." Following that, Dongfang Bingling left Yang Dingtian's body and climbed out of the pool. She walked out and said, "It's fine if you don't want to marry me. You don't have to find such a ridiculous reason. Now that you have recovered, let's go. After we reach the celestial Red Sea, we will part ways here." After saying that, Dongfang Bingling left just like that. Yang Dingtian quickly climbed out of the pool and chased after her. He grabbed Dongfang Bingling's arm and said, "Dongfang Bingling, wake up. You are now in a dream realm. If you don't wake up and leave me, then you will never wake up. I will also be trapped in your dream realm and never be able to wake up. Let go." Dongfang Bingling said coldly. "If you say that I am in a dream realm again, I will kill you with one palm. Anyway, if you think this is a dream, I can't beat you to death. If you kill me in the dream, my spirit will die. In reality, I will really die," Yang Dingtian said. "Really?" Dongfang Bingling directly raised her jade palm and said, "Your life was saved by me, so of course I can take it back. I'm leaving right now. If you catch up to me or say something like a dream again, I'll kill you immediately, I swear." Her tone was extremely cold and filled with absolute determination. Yang Dingtian had no doubt that if he chased after her, she would really strike him with her palm. Perhaps she didn't know that the reason why she was so angry was because Yang Dingtian had rejected her. Dongfang Bingling, the most beautiful woman in the world, the first genius in 400 years, the successor of the Yin-Yang school, and the future leader of the Taekwondo League. Such a woman took the initiative to propose marriage but was rejected. Although she didn't want to admit it, she was really angry and furious in her heart. After saying that, Dongfang Bingling ran her chi, and her figure suddenly became very fast. Like a meteor, she quickly disappeared in front of Yang Dingtian's eyes. She didn't even wear clothes, and only took her sword soul with her. She just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible, which showed how complicated her heart was. Yang Dingtian chased after her with all his might, but he couldn't catch up at all. After all, Dongfang Bingling's chi cultivation was much higher than his. Previously, in the Red Sea, the chi couldn't circulate at all, even in Dongfang Bingling's dream. But after leaving the temple, the chi was restored. He chased out of the temple and came to the Red Sea. Dongfang Bingling's delicate body disappeared at the edge of the Red Sea like a meteor, and then directly jumped down the 10,000-meter cliff. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's heart was burning with anxiety. This dream realm was exactly the same as reality. If Dongfang Bingling was allowed to run away, he really didn't know where to find her. It must be known that the world in Dongfang Bingling's dream was as big as the world she had been to in the past 20 years. It was really impossible for Yang Dingtian to find her. And if he couldn't find her, the two people would never wake up and die in the depths of the dream. Dongfang Bingling, I'm Yang Dingtian! At his wits' end, Yang Dingtian roared at Dongfang Bingling's disappearing figure. Although they were far apart, he believed that she could hear his voice. Sure enough, a moment later, a figure suddenly flew up from the 10,000-meter cliff. Then Dongfang Bingling flew from the air to Yang Dingtian and said coldly, "Who did you say you are?" At the same time, Dongfang Bingling's sharp sword suddenly crossed Yang Dingtian's neck. Her sword, Soul Youngling's sword, carried a dreadful chilliness as it penetrated into Yang Dingtian's body, causing his entire body to turn ice cold. "I'm Yang Dingtian." "Yang Dingtian? How can you prove it?" Dongfang Bingling asked. Yang Dingtian reached to his face and tore off his mask, revealing Yang Dingtian's face. Dongfang Bingling's jade hand trembled, and Yang Dingtian's neck was directly cut by the sharp sword. However, immediately after, Dongfang Bingling said coldly, "I don't believe it." With that, she stepped forward and grabbed Yang Dingtian's face. She tore off another layer of mask, revealing Yang Dingtian's face. After that, Dongfang Bingling's face became incomparably cold, and she said coldly, "In order to reject me, you actually wore 2 layers of masks. You're making fun of me. I really can't let you live." With that, Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent, and her entire body surged with an incomparably powerful energy, causing Yang Dingtian to be almost unable to breathe. Yang Dingtian smiled bitterly and tore off another layer of mask, revealing Yang Dingtian's face. Dongfang Bingling was shocked. "Can't you see it now? Because this is your dream, we are all spiritual consciousness, not real human bodies. I know in my heart that I am wearing Shenlang's mask, so I can take it off. However, in your heart, you think that I am Shenlang who deliberately wore 2 layers of masks, so I can take off 1 layer of Yang Dingtian's face mask. If this was reality, would it be possible to wear 2 or 3 layers of masks? Yes, if this was reality, would it be possible to take off 2 or 3 layers of masks like this?" Suddenly, Dongfang Bingling's beautiful eyes flickered, and a trace of panic flashed past. Then she said coldly, "I don't believe your nonsense. As long as I kill you, everything will be fine." Immediately, Dongfang Bingling raised her sharp sword and was about to slash down. At this moment, the killing intent in her heart was even stronger. Yang Dingtian knew that she was beginning to suspect that this was a dream, but she was absolutely unwilling to admit it, so she wanted to kill Yang Dingtian and then continue to stay in the dream as if nothing had happened. Boom! At the same time, the ground beneath their feet shook violently, and the entire world shook violently. "Do you see it?" Yang Dingtian said. "Because you are beginning to suspect the reality of this world, everything around us is beginning to shake. Also, you are beginning to suspect everything, and you are beginning to suspect that I am Shenlang. Just now, you were able to take off 1 layer of mask from my face and turn me into Shenlang's face. But you can't do it now. You can try if you don't believe me." Yang Dingtian grabbed Dongfang Bingling's hand and pulled down his own face. Dongfang Bingling used all her strength. She was unable to take off any mask, and instead, she pulled out a trace of blood from Yang Dingtian's face. "No, I still don't believe it. Even if you are Yang Dingtian, you can't prove that this is my dream," Dongfang Bingling said. "Although wearing 3 layers of masks is ridiculous, it doesn't mean that you won't do it. I will prove it to you," Yang Dingtian said. Afterward, Yang Dingtian pointed at the sharp sword on his neck and said, "This mystic eye soul sword is yours, and there is only one of it in this world, right?" "Of course," Dongfang Bingling said. "Is it possible to copy it?" Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Bingling said, "Absolutely not. Every ore was dug out by me personally, and the entire sword was forged by me personally. I know every detail of the sword clearly. There is no way to copy it, the only one in the world," Yang Dingtian said. "In fact, after you fainted, I carried you and walked for thousands of miles. Your mysterious eye-soul sword, I have always kept it safe. It is not in your hands, it is with me. Finishing his statement, Yang Dingtian reached into his spatial ring and poured in his mystic chi before taking out an artifact sword. Under Dongfang Bingling's surprised gaze, Yang Dingtian took out a treasure sword. It was exactly the same as the mysterious eye-soul sword in her hand. Impossible! After Yang Dingtian took out the entire treasure sword, Dongfang Bingling trembled and exclaimed. Suddenly, the whole world around them shook violently, as if it was on the verge of collapse. Then, Dongfang Bingling snatched the mysterious eye-soul sword in Yang Dingtian's hand, and threw out the sword sheath. Suddenly, she held two mysterious eye-soul swords in her hands. They were exactly the same. She looked carefully felt. She looked at every detail of the sword, to feel every kind of aura. Both swords were exactly the same. The more she looked, the more her delicate body trembled. Her beautiful smiling face became more and more pale. Her beautiful eyes trembled more and more. Just like she said, there was absolutely no second mysterious eye-soul sword in the world. Now, she had two identical mysterious eye-soul swords in her hand. The one Yang Dingtian took out was absolutely the real one. There was no possibility of imitation. She, Dongfang Bingling, was very clear on this point, because every inch of this sword was personally forged by her. And the mysterious eye-soul sword that Yang Dingtian took out was real. It could only prove one thing. She was really in a dream. Her small mouth trembled slightly. The expression in her beautiful eyes constantly changed. Rumble. At the same time, the world around her began to collapse. The sky began to crack. The Red Sea under her feet also began to collapse. This world was fake. It was completely Dongfang Bingling's imagination. Once she realized that this was a dream, then of course this world no longer existed. Then, the other mysterious eye-soul sword in her hand turned into a broken light, turned into ashes, and disappeared in her hand. Because she realized that this was a dream, the mysterious eye-soul sword that Yang Dingtian gave her was real, then of course the one in her hand did not exist, so it directly turned into ashes. Finally, the whole world completely collapsed and twisted. Dongfang Bingling, let's go out, you should really wake up. Chapter 287. Dongfang Bingling, let's go out. It's time for you to wake up. Dongfang Bingling closed her beautiful eyes and fainted directly. Then, the bodies of the two people also turned into broken light and disappeared. It was as if time flowed and the world changed. Yang Dingtian's divine awareness returned to reality. A few minutes after leaving Dongfang Bingling's dream, Yang Dingtian woke up in the real world. Opening his eyes forcefully, his mind was in a mess, as if he didn't have a clear memory of what he had just experienced. Everything in Dongfang Bingling's dream just now was like a dream. After waking up from the dream, he was first confused, and then some thoughts gradually returned to his mind. However, everything he had just experienced was still a blur. It was as if he woke up from a dream and couldn't remember the things in the dream clearly. However, Yang Dingtian quickly thought that what happened in Dongfang Bingling's dream just now was not important. The key was whether Dongfang Bingling had woken up or not. So, Yang Dingtian quickly shook his head hard to wake himself up completely. Then he quickly looked at Dongfang Bingling. At this time, Dongfang Bingling's eyes were still closed, as if she hadn't woken up yet. The two people were still tightly entangled. At this time, the remnant of the imprint in the pool had completely disappeared, and the light on the two people had dissipated, returning to their original appearance. And at this moment, Yang Dingtian's ears suddenly heard a trembling hum. Then, he felt that the delicate body in his arms suddenly began to heat up. He then lowered his head to look at Dongfang Bingling's face. Her beautiful face was flushed red, and her closed eyes were starting to move. She would wake up soon. Yang Dingtian hurriedly struggled to break free. If Dongfang Bingling woke up and found him like this, she would definitely kill him directly. Her eyelids trembled as if she had slept for a long time. Dongfang Bingling opened her eyes with great effort. Hmm. The moment she opened her eyes, she let out a low groan. Of course, this was an instinctive reaction of her body. It was unconscious. After fully opening her eyes, her beautiful eyes were moist and filled with confusion. But soon, the focus in her eyes gradually became clear, and a cold light began to condense. She saw Yang Dingtian in front of her clearly. She lowered her head and saw the scene clearly. Dongfang Bingling suddenly broke free and let go of Yang Dingtian's body. Then, she raised her jade-like palm and fiercely chopped towards Yang Dingtian's chest. Shenlang, you actually dare to blaspheme me like this? Dongfang Bingling shouted in a delicate voice after the palm strike arrived. This palm strike sent Yang Dingtian flying 2 feet away. That's right, it was only 2 feet, without any profound energy. Because she had returned to reality. In the celestial Red Sea, it was impossible to use any profound qi. What's going on? Where's my profound qi? Shenlang, what did you do to me? Dongfang Bingling said in a cold voice. Yang Dingtian was also filled with shock, because Dongfang Bingling kept calling him Shenlang. Even though Yang Dingtian could not remember clearly what happened in her dream, he vaguely remembered that he seemed to have revealed his identity to her, clearly saying that he was Yang Dingtian. He did not expect that after returning to reality, Dongfang Bingling would still call him Shenlang. Could it be that she did not remember what happened in the dream world? Following that, Dongfang Bingling suddenly jumped out of the pool and said, "Where is this place? Aren't we under the central lake? Why are we here?" Yang Dingtian went forward and pulled Dongfang Bingling and said, "Don't be anxious, I will tell you everything in detail. You have been in a coma for more than half a year, speaking of which, this is also my responsibility." Following that, Yang Dingtian told Dongfang Bingling everything that happened in detail, including how he swallowed the real million-spirit demon fire and was in a coma for half a year, which was why he did not wake her up in time, causing her to lose consciousness. Including how he brought her to the Foxman race to find a way to save her, as well as everything that happened in the Foxman race. Including how he brought her to the celestial Red Sea, met Sage Tan Tai, entered the pool, entered the depths of her consciousness through the remnants of the silk imprint, and woke her up from the depths of her dream. He spoke for more than 10 minutes, but he did not say a single word about Dongfang Bingling's embarrassing matters. In the end, Yang Dingtian said, "So when you saw us close together, it was not because I was desecrating you, but because the remnants of the silk imprint entangled us tightly together. I didn't mean to take advantage of you." After saying that, Yang Dingtian said with a guilty conscience, "Do you believe what I said?" Yang Dingtian was of course a little guilty, even though he did not have any intentions of desecrating her before. However, in the short period of time before Dongfang Bingling woke up, his heart was indeed a little shaken. Dongfang Bingling nodded, and the expression in her beautiful eyes became complicated. She turned around and said, "When you were halfway through, I roughly recalled everything. It was just that I was in a coma at that time, so those experiences felt like a dream. It was very real, but I couldn't remember them all at once." Following that, Dongfang Bingling said, "Actually, there are still some things that you haven't finished. For example, I was like a baby, unable to control my own body, and you took care of me like a baby, etc." After Dongfang Bingling said all these, Yang Dingtian's face turned red. He said, "I had no choice." Dongfang Bingling sighed and said, "This kind of thing is indeed hard to talk about, and it also makes me feel ashamed. However, I can still differentiate between good and bad, and will not vent my anger on you." Yang Dingtian said, "No, actually, it's still my fault. If I had not woken you up in time, the things that happened later would not have happened, and you would not have encountered such embarrassment and danger." Dongfang Bingling shook her head and said, "This is our fate. You have sacrificed so much for the mystic fire, and in the end, you still got what you wanted. That million-spirit demonic fire was obtained by you. At least, it was better than that evil Qin Huayu. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore." Dongfang Bingling climbed out of the pool, picked up her clothes from the ground, and put them on. She said, "You and I are both free and easy people, so why are you so shy? You, Shen Lang, have saved my life many times, and you have taken care of me in every possible way for nearly a month. I, Dongfang Bingling, will remember this in my heart. In the future, I will treat you as my only close friend. If there is anything, just send a message to the Yinyang school, and I will do it for you. Yang Dingtian also climbed out of the pool and put on his clothes. He said, Dongfang Bingling, do you still remember what happened when I entered the depths of your dream to wake you up? Dongfang Bingling thought hard and then shook her head. She said, I can't remember at all, not even a little fragment. She can't remember. Suddenly, Saint Tantai's voice sounded. That was a scene that happened in the depths of her consciousness, and it was many times deeper than a dream. No one can remember it. Moreover, her dream just now has been destroyed, and it has completely disappeared in her mind. Nothing is left, so she can't remember it at all. Oh! Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt very complicated, and he didn't know whether to be happy or sad. As for everything that happened in Dongfang Bingling's dream just now, he almost completely remembered it. In that dream, Dongfang Bingling knew that he was Yang Dingtian. In that dream, Dongfang Bingling took care of him like a baby for a long time, and because of that, she fell in love with his identity as Shen Lang. Now that this dream had been destroyed, of course, it had completely disappeared. Of course, Dongfang Bingling didn't know that he was Yang Dingtian, so he didn't feel awkward. At this moment, Tanai walked out from the front of the temple. Her body was still glowing faintly. Although her face was not as beautiful as Dongfang Bingling's, her aura faintly overshadowed Dongfang Bingling's. Although she was not flamboyant at all, and seemed gentle and indifferent. This lady has finally woken up, it's really worth celebrating, Tantai said to Dongfang Bingling. Dongfang Bingling glanced at Tantai, and her gaze was slightly complicated. Then she bowed lightly and said, Thank you for saving me. I didn't save you, he saved you. Tantai said, Maybe you don't know, when I found you, he was almost out of oil and was about to die. And when he entered your divine sense just now, he was almost dead. If he couldn't save you, then he would never wake up. I don't know what happened between the two of you, but I can see that the feelings between the two of you are very complicated. But I just want to say, no matter what happens, please cherish the man in front of you. Dongfang Bingling said. You must have misunderstood, we are not lovers. Tantai smiled and said, Anyway, just remember my words. Dongfang Bingling did not answer but said, If there is nothing else, we will take our leave. If you have any errands, please let us know. It's nothing. Tanai shook her head and said, You are well, you can leave now. Thank you, goodbye. Dongfang Bingling said, and then she turned and said, Shen Lang, do you want to leave with me? Okay. Yang Dingtian then came in front of Tantai, and bowed deeply and said, Thank you, Saint, goodbye. Mr. Shen, please wait for a moment. Tantai said, I have no intention to pry into your privacy, but I know that you have a type of holy water that can bring the dead back to life, and I need it very much. Can I give you something in exchange? Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly trembled and said, Saint, we are indebted to you. Let's not talk about exchange, I will give it to you. How much do you want? A small cup will do, Tantai said. Yes. Yang Dingtian pretended to take out an elixir, and handed it over with both hands, saying, This elixir contains the holy water that can bring the dead back to life. I will give it to Fairy Tantai. Thank you, Mr. Shen, Tantai said, and then she took the elixir, and then turned to a small room at the back of the temple, saying, Mr. Shen, please wait for a moment, I will give you the item of exchange. No need, this is my gift to you, you don't need to give me anything, Yang Dingtian said. Tantai smiled and walked into the small room. Soon, she came out with a white jade box, and handed it to Yang Dingtian. Fairy Tantai, I really don't want it. Yang Dingtian refused, saying, You have done us a great favor, a little bit of holy water is not worth mentioning. If I take something from you, I will really be ashamed. Alright, then we won't exchange, this is my gift to you. Tantai directly put the jade box in Yang Dingtian's hand, and then Tantai's voice sounded in Yang Dingtian's mind, saying, This is a purple blood meridian of the Naga race, you will have a use for it. A purple blood meridian of the Naga race? Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly jumped. Previously, he lied to Yin Tianchong that he was Miju Tuchuo of the Netherworld Sea, and was exiled because he obtained a part of the Naga race's blood meridian. Now, Tantai actually gave him a part of the purple blood meridian of the Naga race, which was a treasure of heaven and earth. Moreover, at that time, in order to save Yang Dingtian, the Netherworld Sea used a part of the red blood meridian of the Naga race, so Yan Yan was detained there to pay the debt. Now, Yang Dingtian just happened to be able to use a part of the higher grade of the purple blood meridian of the Naga race in exchange for Yan Yan's freedom. However, how did this Tantai know that he needed this part of the Naga race's blood meridian, and it just happened to be one grade higher than what the Netherworld Sea used on him? More importantly, this Tantai even had the Naga race's blood meridian. Who exactly was she? Who exactly was she? Perhaps she only asked for a cup of holy water as an excuse. She only wanted to find a reason to give Yang Dingtian the Naga race's blood meridian. Previously, Yang Dingtian was even filled with fear towards this mysterious person. He felt that not only was she mysterious, she was also dangerous. Now, she was really like a bodhisattva, saving people's lives without any reason. Fairy Tantai, I really need this part of the Naga race's blood meridian, so I will shamelessly accept it. Yang Dingtian then put the jade box into his bosom. Then, when Yang Dingtian was about to leave, he was a little hesitant to say something. If you want to ask something, just ask, Tantai said, still with a gentle and tolerant smile on her face. Fairy Tantai, who exactly are you? After asking, Yang Dingtian said again. Of course, I know my question is very unreasonable. You just have to answer me, are you a person of the hidden sect? Hearing Yang Dingtian's question, Dongfang Bingling, who had been avoiding before, also couldn't help but turn her delicate body and look at Tantai, waiting for her answer. Tantai, could she be a person of the hidden sect? It seemed that they were very similar, whether it was in terms of mystery or temperament. They all had the charm of the hidden sect. Note, brothers, I beg for a few monthly votes, thank you all. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.